Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 49, 3 months. After Kestrel finished speaking, the entire hall immediately fell silent. Linley was frantically pondering. Although the teacher of this Kestrel is in Indigo Prefecture, the distance is too far. I don't have enough time right now. If we make a round trip, there definitely won't be enough time. Can it be that I'll have to send Delia over there? If they sent Delia over, the amount of time it would take would definitely be much shorter. But if they did that, then there wouldn't be enough time to find anyone else who might also be able to save her. Kestrel. Linley stared at him. Tell me. If I send Delia to your teacher's place, how likely is it that your teacher will be able to save Delia? Kestrel frowned. Hesitating momentarily, he stared at Linley, then said with certainty, if my teacher intervenes, although I can't say he will definitely be successful, he has at least a 90% chance of success. 90%. Linley turned, looking at the unconscious Delia. Linley then turned his head to look at Patriarch Gislason. Patriarch, I have no other options. I'll have to send Delia to Mr. Alphonsus. Gislason was frowning, and he slowly shook his head. Linley, don't be impatient. There's another way. Another way. Linley was stunned. Elder brother. That cold, arrogant-looking patriarch of the White Tiger clan spoke out. How about this? I'll personally pay a visit and bring that Alphonsus over. A round trip for a 7-star fiend would normally take half a year, but if I go, the total time of the trip, including bringing Alphonsus back, will be just 3 months. Linley couldn't help but feel a surge of joy. In the 4 Divine Beasts clan, the White Tiger clan was that of a wind-type divine beast. In terms of speed, the White Tiger Patriarch was definitely the fastest expert of the 4 Divine Beasts clan, and was far faster than most 7-star fiends. No need. Gislason shook his head. Patriarch. Linley said frantically. Gislason laughed calmly. Linley, don't worry. I just used my divine sense to give the order to an intelligence agent of our 4 Divine Beasts clan to inform the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture regarding your situation, and soon, we'll have an answer. Linley was astonished. In fact, everyone in the hall was astonished. The Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture was getting involved. Linley. Fusro walked over, slapping Linley on the shoulders and laughing, don't worry. The forces of the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture are spread throughout the entire Indigo Prefecture. If he were to reach out to Alphonsus, it would be done very quickly. And perhaps the Lord Prefect even knows some other experts who can save Delia. Linley's eyes couldn't help but to light up. The Lord Prefect, as the Lord of Indigo Prefecture, had a level of influence in Indigo Prefecture that vastly surpassed the 4 Divine Beasts clan. It must be understood that even the 8 great clans dared not invade the Skirite Mountains, all because of the Lord Prefect. One could imagine how powerful the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture was. Will the Lord Prefect be willing to help me? Linley was rather nervous as well. After all, he was neither friend nor family to this person. Don't be impatient. Wait a while. Our intelligence agents will soon send an answer. Gislason laughed, and Linley nodded. All he could do was swallow his impatience, burying it in his heart as he quietly waited. Moments later. We have a response. Gislason's smile became brilliant. Clearly, the intelligence agent had communicated with him through divine sense. Everyone in the main hall immediately looked towards Gislason. Haha, good news, Linley. The Lord Prefect has spoken. Gislason laughed as he looked towards Linley, extremely happy. Alphonsus is one of his friends, and in 2 or 3 days, his subordinates will reach and notify Alphonsus, who should be able to arrive here within 3 months. Linley felt relieved. Not just that. Gislason laughed. The Lord Prefect himself will come over as well. He says he will personally help treat Delia. Elder brother, the Lord Prefect is capable of treating the soul. The Grand Elder asked, rather astonished. I thought the Lord Prefect isn't very specialized with regards to treating the soul. The Grand Elder and the others clearly remembered the scene, that year, of the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture intervening and stopping the 8 great clans. That could be described as utterly terrifying. Precisely because of that event, even figures as exalted as Gislason would respectfully address him as Lord Prefect. After all, if it weren't for the Lord Prefect, their 4 divine beasts clan would most likely have been annihilated. Haha, I'm rather surprised as well. However, since the Lord Prefect has already spoken, he definitely won't fail to live up to his word. Gislason laughed as he looked towards Linley. Linley, now both Alphonsus and the Lord Prefect will come, one after the other. Don't worry. I truly didn't expect that the Lord Prefect would be so incredible with respect to treating the soul as well. The matriarch of the Vermilion Bird clan sighed in amazement as well. Linley felt a surge of excitement in his heart. Thank you all. Linley looked at everyone and spoke solemnly. Since it will be a long time before Mr. Alphonsus comes, I'll go back for now. All right. Gislason nodded and laughed. Linley, go back and get some rest. Don't worry too much. With the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture himself intervening, given his ability and influence, he can easily invite quite a few people to come. Delia will definitely be successfully saved. Linley forced out a smile and nodded. And then, he let the earth-type divine power swell from his body, which naturally formed a soft, cloud-like floating bed which Linley placed weight upon. And then, he took Delia into his arms, nodding towards the elders, and flew out of the main hall. All right. Everyone can go back now. Gislason said clearly. The 4 divine beast clans elders all bade farewell, and then flew away in small groups. Moments later, the only ones remaining in the main hall were Gislason and Fusro. The 2 looked at each other. Gislason immediately set up his Godrealm, separating the sound within from the outside world, then said urgently, Fusro, last time we were discussing. Linley returned to that gorge within the Skirite Mountains. He spent every day either by Delia's side or taking care of Wade. But of course, Linley would occasionally let some of the other members of the Yulon branch take care of Wade. A thin fog billowed about. Barrick was currently standing in an empty spot of land, staring towards Linley's distant abode. Father. Ryan walked over. Are you worried about Delia and Linley? Barrick let out a sigh. Right. Linley has already been back for half a month, but during this past half month, he's never dined with us. He's always remained within the room, hiding inside. In his eyes, the only person he can see right now, aside from Delia, is probably his son. Linley's sunken in too deeply. Ryan frowned. Love is very complicated. It's something which is hard to explain. Barrick shook his head. Right at this moment, a figure descended from the skies at high speed. Clan leader Barrick, how is my boss doing? The newcomer was Bibi. Bibi's group had arrived after Linley. Bibi. A hint of a smile appeared on Barrick's face. It's good that you've returned. Go speak with Linley. Even if you aren't able to persuade him to come out, if you can chat with him, perhaps Linley's mood will improve. Right. Bibi nodded, then immediately ran over towards Linley's residence. Gislason's residence. The main hall. Patriarch, nearly 100 of our clansmen are unconscious. What should we do? Twila said frantically. So many of our clansmen are sobbing. Twila's return had resulted in the return of a large group of unconscious clansmen as well. Gislason, frustrated, frowned as well. Enough of this subject. Gislason ground out. I know their situation well. They are just like Linley's wife. We aren't even able to save Linley's wife, how are we going to save anyone else? Twilla's face was full of worry as well. Let the clansmen make their preparations, Gislason said. Fortunately, most of our clansmen have divine clones. But Linley's wife became a deity through fusing with a divine spark. She doesn't even have a clone. If she dies, she'll truly be finished. Twilla nodded, letting out a sigh. He had personally watched as Delia was hit by the technique and saw how Linley had reacted. Most likely, in Linley's mind right now, his wife's life is more important than even his own. His wife is unfortunate as well, to have become a deity through fusing with a divine spark. Twilla, Gislason instructed. These unconscious clansmen, you go make the arrangements. Most likely, some of them fused with divine sparks as well. Yes, Patriarch. I'll make all the arrangements, Twilla said. Fine. You can go now, Gislason said. After Twilla left, Gislason's face became filled with exhaustion. To him, the matter of Delia and the other clansmen being unconscious was still a minor matter. What truly had him frustrated was the news which Fusro had brought him. Can it be, that there really is no hope? Gislason raised his head, closing his eyes. A glimmer of tears flashed from between his eyelashes, like a gleaming, brilliant little jewel. Gislason took a deep breath. The exhaustion disappeared from his face, and that resolute self-confidence once more appeared. Now, Gislason's eyes were hard and firm. All we can do is entrust our hopes to the Redbud Sovereign who stands behind Linley, as well as the Bloodridge Sovereign who stands behind the Lord Prefect. Unfortunately, the Lord Prefect isn't willing to go all out for our clan's sake. Otherwise, in the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. Why isn't he here yet? Linley stood outside his room, his head raised towards the skies. Ever since the 3-month mark approached, he had been watching the skies every single day, hoping that Alphonsus would descend into the gorge. However, there had been no news of Alphonsus. Bibi walked out from behind, looking at Linley's back. Bibi felt miserable for Linley as well. He spoke. Boss, don't worry. He said 3 months, but that was just an estimate. It won't be exactly 3 months, but it shouldn't be too far off either. Most likely, Alphonsus will be here tomorrow. Linley turned to look at Bibi and nodded slightly. Right. He'll definitely arrive tomorrow. Linley. Linley. A frantic cry rang out from the air. Linley seemed to have been struck by lightning, and he immediately turned to look towards the skies, only to see a figure descending at high speed while saying excitedly, Linley, Mr. Alphonsus has arrived. He's arrived. Arrived. After having waited so long, Linley's heart seemed to have suddenly been set ablaze. All the hairs on his body stiffened, as though he had been hit by electricity. The newcomer was Elder Garvey. The Patriarch told me to notify you. Hurry and make your preparations. He is currently accompanying Mr. Alphonsus, and they will arrive soon. Elder Garvey's face was filled with delight. Linley, your wife will be saved. A look of joy was on Linley's face as well. Right. Delia will be saved. Linley turned and rushed into his room. Delia was quietly lying on a bed in the room, as though she were asleep. By Delia's side, there was a smaller bed, where Wade was quietly slumbering as well. Fortunately, by the time they had left Mir City, Wade was already able to eat liquid foods. Delia, Alphonsus is here. You'll definitely recover. Linley said softly. Boss, they're here. Bibi's voice rang out from outside. Linley hurriedly ran out, looking towards the skies. He saw that within the mist, more than 10 blurry figures were flying over at high speed, and they soon landed on the ground. It was Gislason, the Vermilion Bird Matriarch, Kestrel, and a group of elders. There were 2 non-elders, one was Fusro, while the other was a silver-haired old man with a ruddy complexion and with skin as tender as an infant's. He must be Alphonsus. Linley's eyes lit up. Linley, this person is Mr. Alphonsus. Gislason laughed, and the silver-haired, baby-faced old man laughed as well, nodding towards Linley. You are Linley, right? And your wife? Only now did Linley come to his senses, and he hurriedly said, Mr. Alphonsus, please follow me. He immediately led them in. The group entered the room. Mr. Alphonsus. Linley pointed towards his wife. Please help save my wife. I will try. Alphonsus smiled. He walked to the bed, standing there for a moment as he used his divine sense to investigate. His expression gradually grew solemn. This caused Linley's heart to clench. And then, Alphonsus reached out with his right hand, pressing it against the top of Delia's head. A blurry green light flowed out from Alphonsus' hand, encapsulating Delia's head. Immediately, the entire room fell completely silent, with no one daring to make a sound. Linley held his breath as well as he watched this scene. Since Alphonsus is acting, he definitely must have confidence in his ability to succeed. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 50, Between Life and Death. Within the room, everyone was watching Alphonsus treat Delia. Linley was the most nervous of them all, and his forehead became matted with sweat. Linley, however, didn't even notice. Crackle. That green energy circulated, emanating a very faint sound. Alphonsus, his face solemn, suddenly let out a low growl. And the speed at which the green light circulated suddenly increased dramatically, constantly pouring into Delia's brain. Delia, seemingly in pain, let out a soft sound, and her forehead creased slightly. This soft sound, to Linley, was like a clap of thunder. His eyes lit up as though he had been hit by lightning. Delia has regained consciousness. She's responding. Linley was so excited, his entire body was trembling. Looks of joy had appeared on everyone else's faces as well. Boss, Delia is going to be saved. Bibi hurriedly said through divine sense with joy as well. Right. Linley nodded. He felt as though he were filled with life and energy. Gislason, Fusro, and the others began to chortle as well. Linley continued to stare at Alphonsus as the man treated Delia, and the hope in his heart continued to swell. Delia, you absolutely must get better, you must. Right at this moment. Alphonsus took back his right hand, concluding the treatment. Mr. Alphonsus, is my wife treated? Linley asked hurriedly. Alphonsus turned to look at Linley. He could clearly see the hopes and expectations held within the eyes of this youth. However, Alphonsus just let out a soft sigh. Linley, make your preparations. Preparations for what? What preparations? Linley immediately had a bad feeling. Mr. Alphonsus, what is going on? Gislason, whose face had been all smiles, hurriedly asked as his face changed as well. Alphonsus shook his head. All I can do is tell you quite openly, I am not able to save this woman. In addition, I recommend that you give up. To save this woman is virtually impossible. Hearing these words from Alphonsus, Linley felt his entire mind go blank. No. Linley suddenly growled, staring fixedly at Alphonsus, like a savage, maddened lion. Mr. Alphonsus, you must be lying to me. Just now, Delia had a reaction. She was conscious. How can you suddenly say that you can't treat her? Right. Didn't she improve just now? Gislason said as well. Seeing the savage, wild look on the face of the youth in front of him, Alphonsus let out a low sigh. Linley, just now, your wife didn't actually regain consciousness. Rather, while I was treating her, her soul pushed at mine strongly, causing a slight involuntary response in her body. But didn't Kestrel say that you had a 90% chance of saving my wife? How can, now, Linley couldn't accept this. He truly couldn't accept it? 3 months ago, Linley had been convinced that Delia would definitely be cured. Over the past 3 months, Linley had been waiting constantly for this day. Just now, Linley had believed that Delia had already been cured. But now, Alphonsus let out a sigh. 3 months ago, if I were to treat your wife, I would definitely have been able to save her. But now, it's too late. What do you mean? You could save her 3 months ago, but not now. Linley said frantically. Alphonsus looked around at everyone, then said, everyone, this sort of spiritual attack is a very insidious, vile type. Those green spots of light invade the soul, then constantly devour and transform it. 1 spot becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8. Although the souls of high gods are powerful, and to devour and transform them is very difficult, as the multiplicative effects continue, the more time passes, the more extravagant the rate of devouring becomes. Alphonsus said solemnly. Everyone present nodded. I know these things. But why are you unable to save Delia? Linley said frantically. Alphonsus looked at Linley, then sighed. Linley, you still don't understand? The devouring and transforming speed continues to grow faster and faster. 3 months ago, the speed of devouring and transforming was 1,000,000 times slower than it is now. Linley was stunned. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, as time went on, after just a few dozen rounds, the numbers would become astronomically large. What I need to do in order to save your wife is to counter-devour and counter-transform those green spots of light. Alphonsus said. Linley knew this as well, that the treatment method was to counter-devour and reverse the transformation process. Only when my counter-devouring speed surpasses the devouring speed will I be able to save your wife. Alphonsus said, and Linley completely understood. Right now, my treatment speed is far too slow, compared to the devouring speed. Even if I go all out, at most I'll be able to slow the devouring speed and slightly extend your wife's life. Alphonsus sighed. 3 months ago, I could have easily saved your wife. But now, forgive my inability. Linley stood there, stunned. He completely understood. This sort of devouring speed was like a spark of flame that had become a prairie fire. The more time passed, the wider the burned area would become. A single spark of fire was enough to char the entire grassland. The same was true for these green spots of light. The more time passed, the faster the devouring speed, and the more distant the hopes for saving Delia would be. Boss! Boss! BB called out repeatedly. Linley! Fusro called out as well. But Linley stood there like an idiot, completely silent. Alas, Alphonsus let out a sigh as well. Within the room, Gislason, the Vermilion Bird Patriarch, and the various elders all looked at each other, speechless. The entire atmosphere was extremely tense and gloomy. Mr. Alphonsus! Linley suddenly said frantically. I beg of you, please help treat my wife and extend her life. Let me have enough time to ask someone else to help treat her. Is that acceptable? Linley looked hopefully towards Alphonsus. Linley understood that Alphonsus' treatment speed was inferior to the devouring speed. Then, if Alphonsus wanted to extend Delia's life, he would have to constantly treat her. This request of his was indeed rather excessive. But, he had no choice. Linley! Alphonsus said solemnly. Both because of your 4 Divine Beasts clan as well as because of the Lord Prefect, I would definitely help extend your wife's life if I had the ability to. But, I have to tell you. Even if I help out, I'll at most be able to extend her life for a day or 2. A day or 2? Linley was stunned. He had been hoping the extension would be for several years. The longer the better. This sort of soul treatment, it isn't as simple as you think it is. To treat your wife, as I just said, because your wife's soul rejected my energy, even her body physically reacted. Alphonsus continued, The soul is a very central part of a person. When treating someone, I have to be extremely careful. If just the slightest bit of energy spills out, I'll have injured your wife's soul and she will die. I can maintain this sort of peak performance for a short period of time, ensuring that I don't make any mistakes. But if the amount of time I spend in that state is just a bit too long, given how much spiritual energy that takes up, errors will naturally occur. And once an error occurs, your wife will, Alphonsus said apologetically. Linley was silent for a moment. Linley. The Lord Prefect will soon arrive. Perhaps the Lord Prefect will be able to save your wife. Gislason said hurriedly. Linley's eyes lit up. Right. There's still the Lord Prefect. But Alphonsus said, Linley, I already told you to make your preparations. Although I deeply admire the Lord Prefect, to be honest, I don't believe that the Lord Prefect has the ability to heal her. Mr. Alphonsus. Linley was growing angry. To save your wife, there are only 3 methods. Alphonsus said. Linley immediately started to listen attentively. The first is to have an expert who has trained to the utmost limits of the edicts of life come. Most likely, his treatment speed will be able to surpass the devouring speed. A person like this will be able to save your wife, but of course, you must understand that if 3 more months pass and the process reaches the late stages, most likely even the most powerful expert of the edicts of life will be unable to rescue her. Alphonsus said. However, this type of person, who has trained to the utmost limits of the edicts of life, is extremely rare even in the higher plane of life, much less in the infernal realm. The second method is to use life-type sovereign's might. Devouring speed at this level, considering how powerful life-type sovereign's might is, can be quickly cured. Gislason said frantically, our 4 divine beasts clan does have life-type sovereign's might. Right, we have life-type sovereign's might. Linley said hurriedly as well. You didn't let me finish. Alphonsus shook his head. Life-type sovereign's might is extremely powerful. Naturally, its restorative speed is astonishing. But, life-type sovereign's might is in fact too powerful. There is no way a high god can control it perfectly. I imagine that those of you who have used sovereign's might know that it will leak out, right? Linley was stunned. Right. Sovereign's might was too powerful. The spiritual strength which a high god could exert over it was not enough to perfectly control it. This would cause the user of sovereign's might to emanate an azure aura or a black aura or some other aura over their body. This was caused by the natural leakage of sovereign's might. It was said that sovereign's might could only be used a single time. This was because once a high god used sovereign's might, there was no way the high god would be able to prevent the sovereign's might from leaking out and dissipating. Even if he stopped fighting, the sovereign's might would still naturally disperse. Even if I used sovereign's might to save Delia by delving deep into her soul, if there was the slightest bit of imprecision, Delia's soul would be impacted and would die. To say nothing of the leakage of energy from the sovereign's might. Alphonsus said. Remember, to save Delia, there can't be a single hint of leakage of sovereign's might, or a single mistake. Linley's face couldn't help but turn ashen. He understood this principle. Sovereign's might was the energy of a sovereign. He had never heard of a high god who could control it perfectly, to the point where not a hint was wasted or dispersed. Gislason said, there are indeed high gods who are capable of controlling sovereign's might so perfectly, according to legend. High gods who have reached the paragon level are able to perfectly control sovereign's might. Unfortunately, I've never heard of a high god paragon who resides within Indigo Prefecture. Linley couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Mr. Alphonsus, didn't you say there was a third method? Linley immediately asked. Alphonsus said resignedly, the third method is to ask a sovereign to intervene. If a sovereign is willing to intervene, no matter which sovereign, your wife would be easily saved. But, will you be able to convince a sovereign to help? Your third method is a waste of words. Bibi said unhappily. But Linley was silent for a long time. Mr. Alphonsus, are there truly no other methods? Linley asked again. Alphonsus nodded with absolute certainty. Given my understanding of the soul, I dare say that I am completely certain that aside from these three methods, there are no other methods available. The first method was to find an expert who had reached the utmost limits of insight into the edicts of life, a supreme expert who vastly surpassed Alphonsus. But where in Indigo Prefecture would they go to find someone like that? The second method was to find someone who was able to perfectly control Sovereign's might, without allowing for any leakage or making any errors. This amount of spiritual control was something which only those legendary paragons were capable of. The third method. The only sovereign which Linley had a connection to was the Redbud sovereign. But even aside from the question of whether or not she would help out, the amount of time it would take to go from the Blood Ridge continent to the Redbud continent was far, far too long. Delia couldn't wait for that long. Everyone, I've troubled you all in recent days. Linley forced out a smile. You can all go back now. There's no need to worry yourselves over my affairs. Mr. Alphonsus, I wish to truly thank you for having hurried such a distance to come save my wife. Gislason, the Vermilion Bird matriarch, Fusro, and the others, seeing the look on Linley's face, all sighed in their hearts. Linley, we'll leave for now. Gislason and the others wanted to console him, but they didn't know what to say. All of them simply left. Although they all knew that the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture would arrive soon, after hearing Alphonsus' explanations, they all understood that the Lord Prefect probably wouldn't be able to save Delia, unless his spiritual control was able to perfectly control Sovereign's might. But unfortunately, according to legends, only high god paragons were capable of this. Boss. Bibi looked at Linley's forlorn figure. He had the sudden urge to cry. Linley turned to look at Bibi, forcing a smile out. Bibi, you head out as well. Let me accompany Delia by myself. Linley patted Bibi on the shoulders. Bibi made a sound in acknowledgement, nodding repeatedly. And then, Bibi left the room as well. Within the room, the only figures now present were Linley, Delia, and that slumbering Wade, who had no idea what was going on. Linley quietly looked at Delia, countless scenes flashing through his mind. Grief filled his breast, and he couldn't help but raise his head. Heavens! Why must you punish me so? His hoarse voice echoed and reverberated within the silent room. It was filled with regret, anger, grief, and despair. Two streams of tears fell down from Linley's face. Linley slowly walked to the bed. Kneeling in front of it and looking carefully at Delia. He stretched his hand out, gently stroking Delia's face. A hint of a smile appeared on Linley's face as well, a peaceful smile. Delia, I'll accompany you on the final leg of the journey. Never to part, ever. Time flowed on. In the blink of an eye, many days had passed. Bibi stood outside the room, staring in from outside the window. At this moment, Barrack walked past. Afraid of disturbing Linley, he said softly, Bibi, how is Linley doing right now? Everyone knew Delia's situation, and they all understood that there was most likely no hope for Delia. Only, everyone feared that because of this, Linley would collapse and perhaps even do something which would cause everyone regret and pain. See for yourself. Bibi sighed. There wasn't a hint of a smile on Bibi's face right now. He didn't have any mood to laugh or joke around any longer. Barrack looked in through the window. He saw, within the room, Linley was currently holding Wade, feeding Wade some liquid food. Every so often, Linley would look towards Delia and say softly, Delia, Wade's been very good today. He hasn't caused any fuss at all. Seeing this from outside the window, Barrack couldn't bear to watch any longer. I really hope, Bibi said softly. I really, truly hope that Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture who is arriving soon will be able to save Delia. He has to. Right. Barrack nodded as well. Right at this moment, a figure suddenly descended from the skies. It was Fusro. Fusro said in a soft voice as well, "Bibi, Linley, he." "Fusro, you came." A gentle voice rang out. Smiling, Linley walked out of the room, carrying Wade. "I came to take Wade out for a walk. Come, Fusro, you can hold Wade for a while as well. It's been so long since you last came. Wade has missed you." Fusro, seeing the smile on Linley's face, couldn't help but feel stunned. He hadn't expected that at a time like this, Linley would be smiling. But for some reason, he had this feeling, that Linley's smile caused him to feel even more miserable than a look of grief. "All right, I'll hold him." Fusro immediately walked over. "Hug." Wade, seeing Fusro walked over, immediately reached out with his little hand while saying, "Hug, hug." Linley laughed. Wade can say a few simple words already. He knows how to say mother. Right at this moment, a figure descended from the skies at high speed. It was Elder Garvey. Elder Garvey flew over, hurriedly saying, "Linley, the Lord Prefect has arrived." Linley was stunned. The Lord Prefect came. A hint of color appeared in Linley's lifeless eyes. Although Linley no longer held much hope in the ability of the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture to save Delia, at least it was worth a try. Right. The 4 clan leaders and the Grand Elder immediately went to greet him. "It'll be a while before he arrives," Elder Garvey explained. The 4 clan leaders of the 4 Divine Beasts clan were naturally very arrogant, but they sincerely admired the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture, admired and respected him. The great kindness this person had shown to their clan, as well as this person's power, was more than enough for them to act this way towards him. "Oh, Linley lives right here." A friendly voice rang out. 10 figures descended from the skies. Linley, Fusro, Bibi, and the others all raised their heads to look. The person flying at the head was the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture. While Gislason and the 4 clan leaders followed by his side, their attitudes very humble and meek. But Linley just stared fixedly at that figure who was escorted by those 4 clan leaders, like the moon surrounded by 4 stars. The person was dressed in a long black robe. His long black hair fluttered in the breeze, and his long black beard hung down to his chest. His eyes were very small, but they looked as lively and energetic as the stars. A hint of a smile was at the corner of his lips, and a very friendly look was on his face. "Linley." That person laughed while greeting him. "Linley, this is the Lord Prefect," Gislason introduced. But Linley just stared in disbelief. Lord Beirut." "Grandpa." Bibi called out as well, shocked. He excitedly charged forward, and Beirut opened his mouth and laughed loudly. "Ha ha, Bibi," and as he spoke, he drew Bibi into his arms. "Grandpa." Bibi called out excitedly once again. "Ha ha, you've missed Grandpa, eh?" Beirut laughed very happily. As for Gislason, the Vermilion Bird Matriarch, and the rest of the 4 clan leaders, as well as the Grand Elder and the other elders, and even Fusro, they all stared with wide eyes in disbelief at this scene. The Lord Prefect? Grandpa? Looks of utmost amazement were on the faces of Gislason and the others. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 51, Beirut's Abilities. Linley had originally sunk into despair. He believed that Delia had no hope for life, and he didn't place much hope into the arrival of the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture. But he had never imagined that the person who had saved the 4 Divine Beasts clan from the flames and the floods, the Lord Prefect whom Gislason constantly praised as unspeakably powerful, was actually Bibi's grandfather, Beirut. When he saw Beirut, Linley couldn't help but feel hope surge within his breast. Beirut, in Linley's mind, was unfathomably profound and powerful. Perhaps Lord Beirut truly will be able to save Delia. Linley, in his heart, began to feel rather eager. Outside the door of the room, a large group of people stared in astonishment at Bibi and the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture, Beirut, and at how close they appeared. They had no idea that this unremarkable youth who had always been by Linley's side had actually had such a close relationship with the Lord Prefect. Beirut, you are his grandfather. Fusro spoke out in amazement. Grinning, Beirut glanced at him sideways, then nodded slightly. Fusro, I truly do apologize. I lied to you previously. I was afraid that if you knew the real relationship between myself and Bibi, that you would go out of your way to take care of this little fellow. You have no idea how lazy a temperament this Bibi has. He absolutely has to be made to learn to take care of himself. Fusro began to laugh as well. When he had been just a little kitten in Elkin's arms, that first time he had met Linley and Bibi, he had guessed that Bibi had some sort of relationship with Beirut, especially after seeing Bibi use that Godspark weapon. Afterwards, when he had met Beirut, he had asked Beirut about this. But Beirut just gave a casual answer and had thus deceived him. Haha, yes, this little fellow does need a bit of forging in the crucible of life. Fusro laughed, looking at Bibi. Bibi couldn't help but let out a snort. Grandpa, I already have mastered 5 profound mysteries. It has only been 1,000 years. My speed is already quite fast. How can you be so shameless? Beirut didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. Of the 5 profound mysteries which Bibi had mastered, one came naturally from when he, as a divine beast, reached the age of maturity. As for the other 4, they came from those soul slice fragments which Beirut had asked his friend to create. But of course, Bibi's comprehension ability wasn't bad, as he was able to break through 4 bottlenecks in a row. Gislason, the Vermilion Bird matriarch, the other clan leaders, and the elders were all completely stunned. They truly had not imagined that Linley and Bibi actually had such a deep relationship with this unfathomably powerful Lord Prefect. Lord Prefect, Bibi is already quite impressive to have mastered 5 profound mysteries in 1,000 or so years. Gislason said as well. You don't know the truth of the secrets within. Beirut said, his eyes half-lidded in amusement. Grandpa. Bibi was rather unhappy. Beirut chortled, however, compared to the Yulan continent, you have indeed made great improvements. At least your patience has improved a bit, haha. Only now did Bibi smile as well. Lord Beirut. Linley finally spoke. My wife, Delia, she. Beirut turned to look. Seeing Linley, his expression grew slightly more solemn. He nodded. I heard of your wife's situation, which is why I hurried over. Back then, when the 2 of you were getting married, I even sent my son with a divine spark to your wife. Who would have imagined that this would happen? Alas, come, let me take a look. Right. Linley immediately led the way forward, and the 2 stepped into the room, with Fusro and Bibi following behind. In the past, Beirut had given her a divine spark out of good intentions. After all, the chances of becoming a deity on one's own in a material plane were extremely low. Although there were many benefits to becoming a deity on one's own, Delia, become a deity without assistance. Forget about becoming a deity, even becoming a saint would be difficult. Who knew how long it would take for her to become a deity? The same was true for Warden. If Warden didn't undergo the ancestral baptism, it would also be very hard for him to become a deity by relying on his own abilities. Linley actually has such a relationship with the Lord Prefect. Gislason and the others were all outside the room, looking at each other. They were still stunned by this news. At the same time, Gislason set up his Godrealm, blocking out sound and not letting those inside the room listen to them. Didn't you hear? When Linley got married in a material plane, the Lord Prefect even sent him gifts. Their relationship is an extremely close one. The vermilion bird matriarch's lips crooked upwards in a smile, and she began to laugh. To our 4 divine beasts clan, this is a good thing as well. Right. If the Lord Prefect truly decides to help us, the 8 great clans won't dare to be so arrogant. The Black Tortoise Patriarch nodded as well. The abilities of the Lord Prefect truly are frightening. Gislason sighed in amazement as well. They all remembered that scene, from when Beirut had appeared to stop those 8 great clans. He had wielded that long black staff in his hands, and moved like lightning as he roamed about in the midst of the many experts of the 8 great clans. Not a single 7-star fiend who was touched by that staff had any chance at survival. However, the experts of the 8 great clans weren't able to harm Beirut in the slightest with their material attacks, and when their spiritual attacks landed on Beirut, there was apparently no effect at all. In the blink of an eye, Beirut had laid waste to and slaughtered more than 27 star fiends, terrifying the forces of the 8 great clans so badly that they had immediately paused their attacks. Even when Patriarch Bullen of the 8 great clans had exchanged a blow with Beirut, he had been heavily injured, even though he hadn't died. It must be understood that Patriarch Bullen also had a sovereign artifact. But when compared to Beirut, they were on different levels. Beirut was reputed to be the most powerful figure in the Blood Ridge continent, aside from the Blood Ridge sovereign himself. Not only did he have such a reputation, nobody even dared to question it. The other Azuras all tacitly accepted it. From this, one could tell how powerful he was. Back then, if the Lord Prefect had forcibly demanded the 8 great clans to all F***ck off, even though they wouldn't have been willing to do so, in the end, they still probably would have. Gislason sighed. However, it seems as though the Lord Prefect doesn't want to offend the 8 great clans too much. Most likely, he wants to give face to the sovereigns behind the 8 great clans. Thus, he just forbade the 8 great clans from entering the Skirite Mountains. It already is very good for the Lord Prefect to be willing to do this for us. The Vermilion Bird Matriarch said with a solemn look on her face. Back in the day, when the 4 ancestors were all present, how many experts had aligned themselves with our clan? Our 4 ancestors had quite a few sovereigns emissaries as well. But after the 4 ancestors died, not a single one of those emissaries cared about our clans. The other elders all sighed quietly. Indeed. As the saying went, when the people are gone, the tea grows cold. Once the ancestors died, even their emissaries simply watched, not assisting at all as the 4 divine beasts clan tottered step by step towards annihilation. But fortunately, the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture had finally intervened. Although he hadn't completely shooed away the 8 great clans, at least he had allowed the 4 divine beasts clan to survive and not be annihilated. A person couldn't be too greedy. The Lord Prefect had already been very benevolent towards them. The Lord Prefect had done so much for them, but the 4 divine beasts clan had been unable to do anything to repay him. Let's go. We'll go in and take a look. Gislason was the first to walk in, and the various elders all followed him. As soon as Gislason entered the room, he saw that Linley was standing there to the side, waiting quietly. As for Beirut, he was standing with his eyes closed. Moments later, his eyes opened and he let out a sigh. Delia's situation is even more terrible than I expected. Lord Beirut, can it be that even you are unable to save Delia? Linley said frantically. Grandpa. Bibi said hurriedly as well. Haha, Beirut began to laugh loudly. I only said the situation is terrible. I didn't say I'm unable to save her. However, in order to save your wife, I'm going to have to waste a drop of life-type sovereign's might. As he spoke, Beirut extended his palm, and a green drop of liquid appeared within it. Lord Beirut. As soon as Linley saw this drop of life-type sovereign's might, he was worried. In treating the soul, one has to delve deep into the core of the soul. If there's even a hint of energy leakage from the sovereign's might or a single error, then Although Linley wanted to save Delia, he didn't want to watch as Delia died due to an accident. Lord Prefect, using a drop of Sovereign's might, Gislason interjected as well. Hey, do you think that I actually don't have common sense? Puzzled, Beirut turned to look towards Linley and the others. It's just a drop of life-type Sovereign's might. Although it is indeed hard to use a drop of it without letting any leak out, who says I'm not capable of it? As Beirut spoke, the drop of life-type Sovereign's might in his hand entered his body. And then, Beirut pointed out with a finger from his right hand, and a green blurry illusion formed. Sovereign's might. Linley was stunned. How is that possible? Gislason, Fusro, and the others were all stunned. Beirut had clearly already used his Sovereign's might, but Beirut's body wasn't emanating a hint of it at all. Normally speaking, after a person used Sovereign's might, a colored aura would emanate from that person's body. That light was the leaking Sovereign's might. But Beirut didn't leak out any at all. From the outside, one wouldn't be able to tell at all that Beirut was using Sovereign's might. Linley was overjoyed. She'll be saved. Delia will be saved. I didn't expect Lord Beirut to be so formidable. He's able to wield even the heavy power of Sovereign's might with precision, not letting a hint leak out. Sovereign's might was simply too overpoweringly strong for high gods. Using it was like letting an ordinary mortal wield a heavy sword that weighed 50 kilograms. Due to its great weight, it would be hard for the mortal to wield it accurately, agilely, and without any errors. The same was true for a deity who used Sovereign's might. It exceeded the bounds of control of their spiritual energy, and thus it would leak out. According to legend, only Paragon high gods were able to perfectly control Sovereign's might. But today, Beirut had accomplished it. Lord Prefect, can it be that you have already reached the Paragon? Gislason said in shock. Quiet. Beirut frowned, his face growing solemn. While I am treating Delia, none of you are permitted to speak. If you disturb me, then you will bear the consequences. Beirut, for once, decided to show his fierce side. Immediately, everyone in the room fell silent. Linley's heart was pounding, and he watched everything nervously. He saw Beirut extend his right hand, clasping the top part of Delia's head with it. Immediately, that blurry, illusory green light began to flood into Delia's head. As for Beirut, he closed his eyes, completely focused on healing her. The entire room was completely silent. Not even breathing could be heard. She'll definitely get better. She'll definitely get better. Linley stared unblinkingly as he prayed non-stop. He was truly afraid. Prior to this, when that Alphonsus had treated Delia, he had also acted in a similar manner. Linley had believed that Delia would get better, but the result had been utter silence. Time passed, 1 second at a time. Healing the soul was a very detailed, careful project. The insides of a soul were extremely complex, and the innermost core of a soul was extremely fragile. The slightest error would cause the soul to be finished. Even Beirut had to be very careful and slow in his treatment. After a long time, the sweat which had poured out of Linley's forehead had already dried. All done. A long sigh shook the room. This sudden noise within the silent room caused Linley to feel shocked. He hurriedly looked towards Beirut. The moment of judgment had arrived. Lord Beirut, how is it? When Linley said these words, his heart was trembling. How is it? Take a look for yourself. Beirut laughed. Linley immediately looked towards Delia, only to see the slumbering Delia's eyelids tremble slightly. In that moment, Linley felt as though flames were scorching his chest, and a look of joy couldn't help but appear on his face. Delia opened her eyes, a lost, uncomprehending look within them. She looked around herself. There were so many people here. Lord Beirut. Delia breathed in astonishment, then immediately looked at Linley. Linley, what happened? After Delia had been hit by the technique, She had lost all consciousness. She had no idea what had happened in the following period of time. Linley, why are you crying? Delia felt completely baffled. Why was it that as soon as she had woken up, there were so many people present, including the patriarch? And even Beirut had appeared. Tears uncontrollably fell down Linley's face. The moment Delia woke up, Linley felt as though the world, which had turned dark, had suddenly regained its brightness. It had regained its color. Delia. Linley embraced Delia, hugging her tightly, afraid that he might lose her again. Lord Prefect, you are a paragon high god. Gislason said. Beirut, you, Fusro said in astonishment as well. Beirut simply began to laugh loudly. What are you people talking about? Can it be that if I'm not a paragon high god, I won't be able to control sovereign's might? Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 52, 2 Drops of Sovereign's Might. Fusro, Gislason, and everyone else were momentarily speechless. Grandpa. At this moment, Bibi immediately spoke out, his face filled with delight. I know why they are puzzled. It is because everyone says, that according to legend, only a high god who has become a paragon is able to perfectly control sovereign's might. Beirut looked around at the people within the room. Legend, all of you know that is just a legend, right? Beirut laughed calmly. Paragon high gods are able to do it, but does that necessarily mean that no other high gods are able to do it? All of you are too rigid in your thinking. Legends were nothing more than legends, after all. Reality wasn't necessarily the same as legends. Beirut, admirable, admirable. No wonder your almighty sovereign values you so much. Fusro laughed. Generally speaking, emissaries were mere subordinates to their sovereign. The death of a sovereign's emissary just meant that the sovereign could go find another one. But some emissaries were exceedingly valued and held in high regard by their sovereign. For example, high god paragons. Although Beirut wasn't a high god paragon, his sovereign still held him in extremely high regard. Forget about me, your sovereign values you greatly as well. Beirut laughed. Fusro, hearing this, couldn't help but laugh as well. That fire-type sovereign had personally competed against him, starting with material attacks and spiritual attacks and moving to other aspects. Only at the very end did the fire-type sovereign reveal his identity. For a sovereign to lower himself to spar with Fusro, naturally, he didn't view or treat Fusro as an ordinary chess piece. As Fusro and Beirut chatted, the 4 patriarchs and elders just stood there and listened, not daring to interject. After all, the two were both sovereigns' emissaries. Beirut turned to glance at Linley, and then instructed Gislason and the others, enough. Everyone, no need to keep crowding the two of them in this room. Linley and his wife undoubtedly have quite a few private words they want to share with each other. You can go out for now. Only now did Gislason and the others come to their senses, and they hurriedly nodded. Lord Prefect, Linley's wife has been treated and cured thanks to your arrival. Tonight, our 4 Divine Beasts clan will host a celebratory banquet for her cure and your arrival. What do you say? Gislason said. All right then. Tonight, you can send someone over. For now, I want to chat with Bibi for a time. Beirut laughed as he looked at Bibi, rubbing Bibi's head. Bibi just cocked his head sideways, immediately dodging. Lord Prefect. Suddenly, a clear voice rang out. There's something I want to beg of you, Lord Prefect. Little sis. Gislason couldn't help but hurriedly send through divine sense, let's hurry up and leave. Clearly, upon seeing that Beirut had already asked them to leave, it would be imprudent for them to stay. Beirut couldn't help but frown, dissatisfied. He turned to look, and he saw that the speaker was the Grand Elder of the Azure Dragon clan. The Grand Elder clan said solemnly, Lord Prefect, this time, quite a few others aside from Linley's wife had also fainted, and their situation is the same as hers. I wonder, Lord Prefect, if you would be willing to help. Humph. Beirut let out a cold snort. His thick black eyebrows suddenly turned stiff, and his gaze turned cold as he looked at her. Little sis. Gislason barked as well. Laughable. Beirut's gaze drilled down towards the Grand Elder. Saving a person uses up sovereign's might? Uses up my own energy. It is easy for you to say, and what's more, what do the lives of your people have to do with me? By your line of reasoning, whenever anyone in the entire infernal realm is wounded or in danger, I, Beirut, should appear and rescue them. Seeing Beirut angered, the clan leaders and elders of the four divine beasts clan were shocked. Good heavens! The only reason why their four divine beasts clan was able to survive here within the Skirite mountains was all because of Beirut. If Beirut simply stopped helping them, the entire four divine beasts clan, under the combined attacks of their enemies, would be finished. Faced with Beirut's anger, the Grand Elder didn't dare to say another word either. Lord Prefect, I apologize. My little sister is just worried about her clansmen. Gislason said apologetically, and then immediately led everyone away. Beirut, when you lost your temper, you frightened that female elder so much, she didn't dare say another word. Geez, Beirut. You could have just said no. Why lose your temper? Fusro laughed. Beirut's face returned to its normal, pleasant smiling expression as well. Fusro, there's no need to receive outsiders like them with a smile at all times. Otherwise, some people will go farther and farther out of bounds. Beirut said with a calm laugh. Beirut wasn't the soft-hearted type. In the battles in the Yulan continent, no matter how many people died, Beirut hadn't cared at all. As he saw it, life and death were both part of the laws of nature. Each person would eventually die. Deities would theoretically have an unlimited lifespan, true. But in the entire infernal realm, countless deities were dying in battle each day. If they didn't have a connection to him, why would he care about them and why would he intervene? Grandpa, let's go back. Bibi urged. Beirut began to laugh. Right. We're disturbing Linley and his wife. Lord Beirut, thank you, truly. Linley held Delia's hand as he spoke words of gratitude towards Beirut. Beirut had saved Delia this time, yet there was nothing Linley could do to repay this. Ha ha. Beirut began to laugh. All right. I won't disturb you two, husband and wife, any further. Beirut immediately led Fusro and Bibi away, and in the entire room only Linley and Delia remained. Within the room, Linley began to slowly explain what had happened in recent days to Delia. Delia just sat there listening. Although Linley was very calm when speaking, Delia could sense from Linley's words how much terror and despair Linley had felt, as well as the excitement he had felt when hope had been birthed from despair. Delia, if Lord Beirut hadn't saved you this time, I really cannot even begin to imagine what the future would be like, after you died. Linley sighed emotionally. Training? Training for what? Even if I become powerful, what's the point? Without you, no matter how powerful I am, what's the point? Delia's death, to Linley, would have caused his future to fade to utter black. He wouldn't have any hopes. He wouldn't have any motivation. Hearing his words, Delia's eyes glistened with moistness. She immediately stretched her arms out, hugging Linley. She hurriedly said, Linley, say no more. I'm already healed now. I'm fine. Right. You are fine. Linley stroked Delia's face and nodded. Delia, I have never been so excited, so happy, so energetic before. When I saw you open your eyes, when I saw the colors in your eyes, I felt as though my entire body was filled with life. For your sake, for our child's sake, I will continue to strive hard to continuously improve myself, to become powerful. Linley looked at Delia. With you by my side, I fear nothing. The tears began to roll down Delia's face as she listened, but her face was covered with a smile of contentment and bliss. Delia. Linley stretched his hand out, and a drop of water-type sovereign's might appeared. This is water-type sovereign's might. This time, if I had given you a drop of sovereign's might early on, you wouldn't have been in any danger. Fortunately, you are fine now, but I don't want this sort of event to occur again. Take this drop of sovereign's might. Linley, no, Delia, upon seeing the sovereign's might, immediately refused. Take it. Linley said solemnly, Delia, after this event, I now understand that there will be times when I cannot protect you. By holding a drop of sovereign's might, at a critical point in time, you will be able to preserve your own life. This sovereign's might is highly effective in both soul defense and material defense. Delia, don't refuse. Delia looked at Linley. She knew him very well and understood his temper. Fine. I'll take it. Delia didn't refuse any further. Only now did a smile appear again on Linley's face. He stretched his arm out, pulling Delia closer, and she nestled into his embrace. After having lost something, one values it all the more. I've tasted loss once. I don't want to taste it again. You won't, you won't. A smile was on Delia's face. Right. Linley said in acknowledgement. For a moment, both fell silent. And just like that, the two leaned against each other, sensing each other's breathing, enjoying that warmth, that peace. That very night. The Skirite Mountains. The 4 clan leaders of the 4 Divine Beasts clan, a large group of elders, and even many elders who had lost their most powerful bodies were gathered together for a banquet. After all, the guest of honor this time was the savior of their 4 Divine Beasts clan, the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture. When they knew of the relationship between Beirut, Bibi, and Linley, all of them were shocked. Exchanging toasts and celebrating joyously, everyone drank together happily. Elder Linley Gislason, seated on the throne at the front of the hall, said in a loud voice, "This time, you battled against 8 elders. Although you used up a drop of sovereign's might, you also killed fully 5 of the enemy's 7 star fiends." Linley couldn't help but look towards him. "I know that you specialize in the laws of the earth. This time, I had a meeting with the patriarch of the Black Tortoise clan. Killing 5 enemy elders is a major accomplishment. The clan thus bestows upon you 2 drops of sovereign's might, 1 drop of water-type sovereign's might, and 1 drop of earth-type sovereign's might." Gislason laughed as he spoke. "Linley, by using this earth-type sovereign's might with your gravitational space technique, the power will be much greater." A deep, rumbling voice rang out. It was the Black Tortoise Patriarch. Linley hurriedly stood up, moving to the center of the hall. At the same time, sovereign's might floated out from the hands of Gislason as well as the Black Tortoise Patriarch. One was a blue drop of water, while the other was an earthen yellow liquid. Linley immediately accepted them, storing them into his coiling dragon ring. "Thank you, Patriarchs." Linley bowed. After having rendered merits, one must be rewarded. This is the rule of the clan. Gislason laughed. "All right. Take your seat again. Everyone, keep drinking." Fusro and Beirut, also seated in the front of the main hall, exchanged glances, then left. Below them, however, the unassuming elder Foreign felt unhappiness in his heart. "Father." Emmanuel sent through divine sense. This was a major celebratory event, and so many people had come. The clan still held in great esteem those warriors who had lost their most powerful divine clones in battle and who in terms of power were no longer worth of being called elders. These people still had a fairly high status within the clan, and they were invited to attend this banquet as well. Emmanuel was one of them. The patriarch seems to be too biased. Emmanuel sent through divine sense. According to the rules of the clan, If an elder uses up a drop of sovereign's might in battle, generally speaking, he'll just receive another one in compensation. Even if the elder rendered a significant amount of merit, at most he'll just receive some words of praise. After all, the clan no longer has much sovereign's might left. Foreign replied through divine sense. It's all because of the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture. Otherwise, how could they give Linley 2 drops of sovereign's might? I really don't know how Linley has such bullshit luck. He actually even has a relationship with the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture. Foreign was extremely unhappy. Linley being in possession of the Azure Dragon Ring was something which Foreign was already rather unhappy about. And now, it seemed as though Linley's relationship with the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture was incredibly strong as well. Naturally, Foreign was smoldering. But although he was angry, he didn't dare show it on his face. On his face, he was still smiling. He even raised his glass in a toast. Elder Linley, truest congratulations. Come, cheers. Linley was seated on the left seat of honor, fairly close to Beirut, who was seated in the front of the hall. Beirut looked towards Linley, then said through divine sense, Linley, I heard that on the way back, you suffered a joint attack from 8 enemy elders. Right. Linley was puzzled by this as well. He sent back through divine sense, this is indeed fishy. First of all, I changed my appearance. Second of all, as soon as I exited the city, they attacked en masse. And third, the enemy sent out 8 elders. They wouldn't do that without complete certainty. Beirut was momentarily silent, then sent back through divine sense, Fusro discussed this with me as well. I've carefully analyzed the situation, and I suspect that someone within the clan probably leaked out your information. Linley was stunned. Linley, tell me, is there anyone you suspect? Beirut sent mentally. Linley naturally had someone he suspected. Lord Beirut, I have no proof at all. And there's no way to be absolutely sure if there is even a traitor involved at all. Empty suspicions are useless to voice. Linley sent. Don't worry about if it is useless or not. Just tell me, is there someone you suspect? Tell me who the person you suspect is. Beirut said. Linley hesitated, then said, there is a person. That time, when I mounted on my metallic life form and left, he saw me leave as well. Within the clan, the only people I have a conflict with is him and his son. Who is it? Beirut asked. Foreign. Linley finally said the name. Which one is he? Is he within the hall? Beirut asked. Yes. Linley replied. He's the 5th one on the row in front of us. Beirut followed Linley's gesture. Turning his head, he saw that Foreign was currently exchanging toasts with another elder while saying, the clan's situation is growing tougher and tougher. Last time, when I encountered an enemy elder, I was nearly finished. Oh, the one with gold hair. Beirut sent back through divine sense and asked. Linley replied, that's the one. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 53, Putting on a Performance. What exactly is Lord Beirut going to do? Linley was puzzled. Whether or not the clan had a traitor and whether or not Foreign was that traitor, there was no evidence for it. Why was Lord Beirut asking so many questions? Just as Linley was puzzled, Beirut, seated at the front of the hall, suddenly slammed his cup against the long table in front of him. That ear-piercing sound couldn't help but cause the 4 clan leaders and Fusro to all look towards him. Humph. Beirut let out a cold snort. Instantly, the entire main hall went silent. Everyone understood that this Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture seemed to be rather upset about something. It didn't matter if they offended others. But they couldn't offend this person who was supporting their clan. Gislason let out 2 chuckles, then said, Lord Prefect, is something amiss? Beirut glanced sideways at him, and then looked at the surrounding people, his gaze clear and fierce. Linley's group was assaulted by 8 enemy elders. He killed several of them, he rendered merits, and so he was rewarded. I must praise your clan for the way you handled this part, but, can it be that your 4 Divine Beasts clan isn't preparing to investigate how this matter of a simultaneous attack by 8 elders came about? Beirut let out a cold snort. From what I know, when these 8 enemy elders attacked, 3 of them used Sovereign's might. Clearly, they wanted Linley dead. And the shockwaves of battle even impacted my grandson, Bibi. Fortunately, I had forged a soul-protecting divine artifact for him long ago, which is why he was able to resist those green spots of light. Otherwise, he would have ended up just like Delia. This was such a major affair, but your clan isn't investigating it? Humph. Beirut let out an angry snort, then didn't say anything further. After these words came out, all of the elders in the hall began to secretly speak to each other through divine sense. Even the 4 clan leaders seated at the front of the hall began to speak amongst themselves through divine sense. As they saw it, the real reason why Beirut was so angry was probably because Bibi was impacted as well. Although Bibi wasn't harmed, Beirut was clearly upset by this affair. The 4 clan leaders could completely understand this. Lord Prefect. The Vermilion Bird matriarch immediately said apologetically, we, too, feel that there must have been a plot behind the attack of the 8 elders. Otherwise, how could the 8 elders have suddenly appeared as soon as Linley's group left Mir City? But, there's no way to investigate. No way to investigate. Beirut said calmly. It's simple. Your clan has a traitor. Traitor. This word caused the entire hall to descend into a cacophony of noise. Foreign was so shocked that even the hair on his body stood up. His heart clenched tightly, but then he immediately calmed down. It's fine. It's definitely fine. Aside from myself, there's no one at all who knows that I notified the 8 clans. If I don't admit it, who would know? Even if Linley suspects me, does he have proof? Foreign's thoughts immediately firmed and coalesced around one thing: no matter what, he wasn't that traitor. But as the saying went, a thief would always be nervous. Foreign knew that no one else knew, but he still felt rather tense. Father, do you think there really is a traitor? Emmanuel asked Foreign through divine sense as well. Possibly. Foreign put on a pretense of calm as he sent back through divine sense. Perhaps there is a traitor. However, it's also possible that the 8 great clans truly do have a way to clearly locate Linley's whereabouts. The main hall was in a state of chaos. The elders were all stunned. As for Linley, he was in a state of shock as well. Lord Beirut is being perhaps a bit too, he didn't know what he should say. He didn't have any proof at all, but Beirut had actually acted in such a manner. Still, as Linley saw it, Beirut's behavior had always been different from that of normal people. Linley, is there really a traitor? Delia, by Linley's side, asked through divine sense. There probably is. Linley replied. Who? That Foreign. Delia glanced at Foreign as well. When thinking of possible traitors, the first person that came to mind for Delia was Foreign as well. If there really is a traitor, he is almost certainly the person. Linley replied. Only now did Gislason, seated in the front of the hall, say hurriedly in response, Lord Prefect, you say there is a traitor. Can it be that you have proof? Of course I do. Beirut laughed calmly. Immediately, chaos erupted once more in the hall. Even Linley was stunned. He has proof. Even Linley himself didn't know what proof there was. Proof. Foreign, seated below, was shocked. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. My divine clone sent the message after changing its appearance. There's definitely no one who knows about this situation. What is the proof? Gislason immediately said. If there really is a traitor who has betrayed the clan, Lord Prefect, Worry not. No matter who the person is, our four divine beasts clan will destroy all of the person's bodies, not leaving a single one behind. Gislazen's words were firm and resolute. Right, the person must be executed. The White Tiger Patriarch also said fiercely. Lord Prefect, what's the evidence? The Vermilion Bird Matriarch said. Everyone in the hall turned to look at Beirut, while Linley and Foreign stared at Beirut as well. They all were wondering what the proof was. I can't say. Beirut laughed calmly. Everyone was stunned. Lord Prefect, what are you? Gislazen and the others were stunned, and Linley frowned in bewilderment as well. Beirut laughed calmly, there's no point to me saying it. Only two individuals know about this. One is myself. The other is an almighty sovereign. Do you think that a sovereign will come bear witness about a matter like this? As for the details, it involves some of the secrets of the sovereign. I dare not reveal them. Everyone was stupefied. Linley was dazed as well. How did a sovereign get involved in this? Lord Prefect, are you saying that you are unable to provide any proof? The voice of the Grand Elder rang out in the hall. Right. I am unable to provide any proof. Beirut nodded. The Grand Elder said respectfully, Lord Prefect, if you don't provide any proof, then there's no way this matter can be addressed. It's uncertain as to whether or not there is a traitor. In a situation where there is no proof, it is best not to cause everyone to worry. Laughable. Beirut stared at the Grand Elder. What, can it be that you think I am lying? The Grand Elder was speechless. Little sis. Gislazen hurriedly shouted at her through divine sense, this Lord Prefect clearly wants to pursue this matter to the end. Let him pursue it if he wishes to. If he wants to find a traitor, in the end, he'll still have to provide us with evidence that we find compelling. If he just randomly points at someone, our four divine beasts clan won't accept it either. It is best not to irritate him just yet. Gislazen asked solemnly, Lord Prefect, dare I ask, do you know who the traitor is? Immediately, the entire hall fell silent. Linley listened carefully as well. Beirut laughed calmly, then stretched out his right hand, pointing down at Foreign, seated in front of them. The traitor of your four divine beasts clan is him. Foreign. Foreign. When Beirut barked out this name, it echoed throughout the hall, and Foreign's face immediately became exceedingly unsightly to look at. Linley felt astonished and surprised. He immediately asked through divine sense, Lord Beirut, what are you? Don't worry about it. I have my own plans. All you need to do is watch. Beirut replied through divine sense. All of the elders within the hall turned to look at Foreign, who immediately rose to his feet, a look of anger on his face. In a sonorous voice, he said, Lord Prefect, I, Foreign, am a third-generation member of the clan. In the past 10,000 years, I have killed two enemy 7-star fiends. My son lost his most powerful divine clone while battling the enemy as well. And you say I am a traitor? Ha ha. Foreign actually began to laugh loudly, from his grief and rage. The anger and grief within that laugh caused many of the elders present to believe Foreign. Clearly, this Beirut hadn't been able to provide any real evidence at all, and yet he pointed to Foreign as being the traitor. If it was a junior member of the clan, or a member who had joined the clan just recently, the elders might believe it. But this was Foreign, the son of the Grand Elder. They didn't believe Foreign would betray the clan. Lord Prefect. The Grand Elder stood up, those eyes of hers behind that silver mask radiating an angry look. In a fierce voice, she said, this Foreign is my son. Over the course of countless years, I have always understood him very well. I dare to guarantee that he definitely is not a traitor. And he can't possibly be the traitor. A calm smile was still on Beirut's face. Oh, you don't admit it? Beirut looked sideways towards Foreign. Foreign, you think that since you acted stealthily and secretly, as long as you don't admit it, no one would find out, right? Beirut laughed calmly. But you forgot something. There is no way for you to notice when a sovereign is paying attention to you. Foreign's heart trembled. Can it be that a sovereign was aware of everything I did? Impossible, impossible. How could there be such a coincidence, that a sovereign just so happened to notice what I was doing? Foreign repeatedly tried to convince himself. But on the surface, Foreign still had his head proudly raised, and he said firmly, Lord Prefect, I, Foreign, dare to proclaim that I definitely have never betrayed the clan. Never. I won't waste words. Beirut looked towards him. You believe you are innocent, right? Foreign raised his head proudly, then nodded. Of course. Beirut nodded slightly. Very well, then. If you truly are innocent, then don't resist. I will use a hypnotic technique against you. While hypnotized, you will tell the truth to everyone. Linley, by now, understood what Beirut intended. Foreign is a 7-star fiend, after all, and even amongst the elders, he is ranked amongst the most powerful. And he is also a member of the Azure Dragon clan, with that innate azure glow protecting his soul. Most likely even Lord Beirut isn't capable of hypnotizing him against his will. Hypnotizing a 7-star fiend was very hard. A 7-star fiend who also had, as an innate ability, that azure light protecting his soul, the number of people in the infernal realm capable of hypnotizing him could probably be counted on one hand. Hypnotize. Foreign said angrily. Lord Prefect, I am no traitor. You even want me to undergo hypnotism. Although you are a lofty and mighty figure, Lord Prefect, I dare say that you are going too far in abusing others. Impudence. Gislason barked. Foreign took a large step forward. Bang. He fell to his knees. Patriarch. Foreign said furiously. Given the situation, there's nothing I have to say for myself. The Lord Prefect sullying me is one thing, but he even wants to hypnotize me and wants me not to resist. I, Foreign, am an elder of the mighty 4 Divine Beasts clan. I am also a 7-star fiend. I won't accept an insult like this. Foreign raised his head proudly. Patriarch, if you are afraid of the power and authority of the Lord Prefect, then today, I, Foreign, will grant the Lord Prefect his wish and accept death. The Lord Prefect can do as he pleases and execute me if he wishes. But you, Beirut, even though you are the Lord Prefect, even though you have shown great benevolence to the clan, I refuse to allow you to insult me any further. Even if you kill me, I won't let you sully me. Foreign closed his eyes. If you want to kill me, then do so. Immediately, the elders in the hall all began to speak through divine sense. Foreign, just accept the hypnotism. When the time comes, the Lord Prefect will naturally know that you are innocent. Gislason said. I've already suffered enough insults to suffer hypnotism without resisting. Foreign's tears began to fall down, and he said in a high-pitched voice, Patriarch, when the ancestor was alive, who would have dared to treat an elder of our clan in such a way? These words struck right at the hearts of quite a few of the elders who were present. When the ancestors had been alive, the 4 Divine Beasts clan wouldn't have even held the Azuras of the infernal realm in much regard. Beirut laughed. Ha ha. Beirut's laughter echoed in the main hall, and he stood up and walked downwards. If you want to kill me, then kill me. Foreign shut his eyes, kneeling there, the picture of rage and grief. Lord Prefect. Gislason said hurriedly. Beirut just walked out of the hall, laughing calmly. Kid, your acting abilities aren't bad. Fine. Today, I won't force you to die. You say that I sully your reputation? Then I will permit you to live a few more months, and in a few more months, I'll see what else you have to say for yourself. After finishing his words, Beirut, with a swirl of his cloak, exited. I, foreign, am not a traitor. Several months from now, I still won't be a traitor. Foreign knelt there, but his head was held high. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 54, Nowhere to Run. Beirut's sudden departure caused the atmosphere at the banquet to become rather awkward. This celebratory banquet thus ended very early. Gislason and the other clan leaders bade farewell to Fusro, Bibi, and Linley, and then Linley's group left as well. Most of the elders were gone now, while Foreign still stood there in the main hall. Foreign. A cold, fierce voice. Foreign raised his head. The Grand Elder was walking towards him, and she stared at him with a clear gaze. Through divine sense, she asked, Foreign, I ask you, did those 8 enemy elders go kill Linley because of you? No. Foreign didn't hesitate at all. Mother, I definitely am not a traitor. Mother, you must believe me. The Grand Elder stared at him, but since Foreign had decided to put on an act, how could he let her see anything amiss? The Grand Elder seemed to relax slightly. In a slightly softer voice, she said, Fine. I believe you. As long as you aren't the traitor, the clan won't permit any outsiders to kill you. After speaking, the Grand Elder left as well. Within that cold and gloomy underground hall, Foreign was there by himself. Judging from Beirut's words, it seems as though he really is certain that I am the traitor. Can it be that a sovereign truly was watching? But although sovereigns are high and mighty, they have their own personalities and human characteristic. They'll often wander about as well. Perhaps one really did find out. Foreign was currently pondering non-stop. Who cares if a sovereign found out or not? How could a mighty sovereign intervene personally in a minor matter like this? Foreign made up his mind. As long as I confidently assert that I am not a traitor, then that means I am not. Foreign only had to do one thing, deny it, no matter what. Within that gorge in the Skirite Mountains, Beirut hadn't gone to live in the place which the 4 Divine Beasts clan had arranged, instead electing to live in the gorge with Linley and Bibi as his neighbors. Within Linley's living room, Linley, Bibi, Fusro, Beirut were present and seated, while Delia was outside with Wade. Grandpa, since you and the sovereign already know everything and know that Foreign is the traitor, just go ahead and kill him. Bibi snorted. I've never liked that Foreign. Linley laughed. Bibi, deep within the hearts and minds of the clan leaders of the 4 Divine Beasts clan is a certain pride. If Foreign is killed without any evidence of his guilt, although the clan leaders and elders might not immediately have a falling out with Beirut over this, they will remember it and harbor hatred in their hearts. Right. Beirut nodded and laughed. Don't be fooled by how respectful those 4 clan leaders act towards me. They are, after all, the sons and daughter of 4 sovereigns. In their hearts, they are still quite prideful. I can't go too far. Linley felt rather grateful towards Beirut. Actually, why would Beirut care about if the 4 Divine Beasts clan hated him or not? The reason Beirut was acting in this manner was because he was worried that Linley would be ostracized afterwards, and that his life in the clan would become miserable. Lord Beirut, you said that in a few months, you would make it so that Foreign would have nothing more to say for himself. What's the plan? Linley immediately asked. Right, Grandpa, what is your plan? Haha, Beirut laughed. Fusro laughed as well. Bibi, have you forgotten that a year ago, you met your grandmother in Mir City? What did you acquire on that visit? The soul slice fragment. What about it? Bibi said, puzzled. Beirut laughed. That soul slice fragment was delivered by an old friend of mine. I had your grandmother give it to you because I was busy accompanying my friend, so I didn't have time to go find you. That Foreign is a descendant of the Azure Dragon clan. With that innate ability protecting him, I'm unable to forcibly hypnotize him. However, that old friend of mine can. Beirut was completely confident. A supreme expert capable of making soul slice fragments? If this person is willing to help. Linley rejoiced in his heart. There's no way Foreign will be able to escape. This time, for Delia's sake, I had to hurry over here. I was worried that my old friend might have left, but just now, I managed to reach him. That friend of mine is still in Indigo Prefecture. He'll arrive here in a few months. Beirut laughed calmly. Grandpa, are you sure about this? Bibi said, rather worried. Foreign has the protection of his innate ability. Absolutely sure. Beirut said. Hearing this, Linley felt jubilant, but at the same time, he sighed to himself, the friends which a supreme expert like Lord Beirut makes, are all supreme experts as well. Even someone like Foreign, protected by his innate ability, will still be mesmerized. What an amazing level of accomplishment does one have to be at, to be so skilled with regards to the soul? They waited leisurely, but as the days passed, the news that the Lord Prefect had accused Foreign of being a traitor quickly spread throughout the entire Skirite Mountains. Quite a few clansmen were secretly furious, feeling the Lord Prefect to be abusing his power. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. On this day, Linley and Delia were currently playing with little Wade in front of their house. Wade was already able to walk wobblingly. While supporting her son, Delia suddenly raised her head. Linley, news about that affair from last time has spread quite far. Even the people in our valley know about it. Just now, when I was taking Wade out for a walk, I heard clansmen from the other branches in our valley say that the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture was sullying Elder Foreign. But of course, there were others who said that the reason Foreign refused to accept the hypnotism was due to fear born out of guilt. Still, the majority seemed to support Foreign. Don't worry about it. When that expert comes, all shall be made clear. Linley said, then half knelt. Wade, you can do it. Take a few more steps. Come to your father. Wade beamed, his dimply mouth curving upwards as he tottered forwards with small steps. Finally, he made it to Linley's arms. Father. Wade said sweetly. Come, give me a kiss. Linley said dotingly. While holding his son, Linley glanced sideways at Delia. Just a few months ago, he had been lost amidst his despair. But now, everything had changed. All because of Beirut. I will never, ever forget the kindness he has shown me. Just as Linley's little three-person household was in the midst of their joy. Beirut. A clear voice echoed in the air above the Skirite Mountains. Linley and Delia all raised their heads, surprised. Beirut, Fusro, and Bibi immediately flew out, and Beirut laughed towards Linley. Linley, that good friend of mine is here. Let's go. It is time for Foreign's true face to be revealed. Linley and Delia, carrying their son, followed them out of the great gorge. In the air above the Skirite Mountains, a single, solitary figure hovered there in mid-air, his entire body covered with a bluish-black robe. His wavy, bluish-black hair was unbound, and his thick black eyebrows were shaped like two swords. He just stood there, standing in the air above the Skirite Mountains. Not a single one of the patrolling warriors dared to go close to him. Gislason, leading a number of elders, hurried over. Patriarch, this strange fellow flew there, shouted Beirut, then stood there without moving. We wanted to shoo him off, but all of our brothers who approached him lost their consciousness and plummeted to the ground. Only after landing did they regain consciousness. The captain of the patrolling warriors hurriedly reported. Gislason, hearing this, couldn't help but frown. Gislason immediately flew over and said sonorously, I am Patriarch Gislason of the Azure Dragon clan. Might I ask who you are? Only now did this strange fellow open his eyes, glancing sideways as Gislason approached. Gislason couldn't but feel his heart tremble. He actually had the feeling as though within the strange man's eyes were a pair of illusory serpents. Gislason. The strange man said calmly. I'm waiting for Beirut. Gislason frowned. Although the person in front of him was very powerful, Gislason wasn't afraid of him. Soul defense was Gislason's strong point. After all, he had a perfect, undamaged soul-protecting sovereign artifact. Then please come to my place to rest while we await the Lord Prefect. Gislason laughed. No need. The strange man said. Ha, Dunnington Denning Dun, you were rather slow. A loud laugh rang out, and Beirut's form appeared in the distance. In but a moment, he arrived. As for Linley and Bibi, they flew over from behind as well. Beirut. The strange fellow began to laugh, immediately going to greet him. Linley and Delia flew over as well. They couldn't help but look carefully at this person. But as Linley looked at him, he felt as though the wavy hair of this strange person had transformed into countless tiny serpents. Linley was shocked. What a strange feeling. Lord Prefect, this is Dunnington? The legendary Dunnington of the Chaotic Sea. Gislason said disbelievingly. The infernal realm had quite a few legendary figures, which even the likes of Gislason had only heard of, not met. As for this Dunnington, in the infernal realm, he was a legendary figure on the same level as Beirut, or perhaps who had even surpassed Beirut. Right. Beirut laughed. This friend of mine is the #1 expert of the Chaotic Sea, aside from the Chaotic Sea Sovereign. Dunnington. The infernal realm was divided into 5 continents and 2 seas. The Chaotic Sea was the largest region, with the most experts. Dunnington's name, for countless years now, had reverberated in the infernal realm. Dunnington was strongest in the Edicts of Death. Each of the 7 elemental laws all had their own specialties and mysteries, which were all divided up clearly and thus could be fused clearly. But the 4 edicts were different. The 4 edicts didn't have specific profound mysteries, as to whether or not a person had mastered enough of them to become a god or a high god. The natural laws themselves would judge. Nobody could be certain as to whether or not Dunnington had reached the stage of being a paragon or not. But if one was to discuss who, in the entire infernal realm, had the most impressive accomplishments with regards to the soul, the vast majority would say the name, Dunnington. A freakishly, monstrously powerful figure. In describing Beirut's power, one could use the phrase sudden rise to prominence in describing the manner in which he proved his power through blood-soaked battle. But the power of Dunnington had been publicly acknowledged through countless years through countless trials. Many people believed that Dunnington had already reached the utter pinnacle of power in the Edicts of Death and had become a paragon. But of course, Dunnington himself wouldn't tell anyone, and there was no way for others to be completely certain. Gislason, go arrange for Foreign to be found and brought here. Beirut laughed. Gislason already could guess what was going on, but he still instructed that Foreign be brought over. Beirut and Dunnington flew together, side by side. While Gislason, Fusro, Linley, Bibi, and Delia followed from behind. Fusro, this Dunnington, the #1 figure of the Chaotic Sea aside from the Sovereign, he is very strong. Linley asked through divine sense. Linley simply hadn't trained for long enough, he didn't know anything about some of the legendary figures of the infernal realm. Very strong? Are you joking? Fusro sent back through divine sense. This Dunnington is probably a high god paragon. You tell me, is he strong? Linley was badly startled. He couldn't help but take a closer look at Dunnington. While flying, Dunnington's long, wavy, bluish-black hair billowed casually in the wind, but as it did, it gave off a very strange impression, as though each strand of hair had turned into a long serpent, or arrows of ice. As he stared at Dunnington, Linley felt his head grow dizzy. How terrifying! Linley was secretly shocked. Boss, I keep on having the feeling as though the robe which Dunnington is wearing is actually a strange monster of the deep sea. So strange. BB sent through divine sense. It wasn't just Linley who felt strange things when looking at Dunnington. Within the main hall of Patriarch Gislazen's residence, everyone sat down. Linley raised his head, looking towards the outside. The Grand Elder was walking in. Elder brother, which person was the one who had been loudly shouting for the Lord Prefect? Gislazen rose to his feet, introducing, "Little sis, this gentleman is Mr. Dunnington of the Chaotic Sea." The Grand Elder was shocked. "Mr. Dunnington," the Grand Elder said in a friendly manner. They addressed Beirut as Lord Prefect, because they felt grateful towards him for his kindness. As for others, even if they were as powerful as Beirut, they would at most address others as Mr. As soon as the Grand Elder sat down, footsteps rang out from outside as well. "Ha, they finally came." Beirut laughed. "Which one is it?" Dunnington spoke out calmly. "The one with the yellow hair," Beirut said. Foreign and several other elders walked in together. When Foreign entered the main hall and saw Beirut, the look on his face turned rather ugly. "Oh," Dunnington said. Very suddenly, twin illusory blurs shot out from Dunnington's eyes, which suddenly surrounded and enveloped Foreign. Foreign wasn't able to react at all, and Linley's eyes couldn't help but light up. Dunnington's actions appeared simple, but there definitely must have been a struggle within Foreign's mind. Foreign's facial muscles twitched slightly, but then he calmed down. "All done." Dunnington laughed, turning his gaze towards Beirut. "The innate ability of this Azure Dragon clan really is formidable. I had to use some real power." Beirut laughed back. "Stop showing off and help me interrogate him." "What are you doing?" the Grand Elder said frantically. "Just hypnotism." Beirut laughed calmly. "You can see for yourselves if he is innocent or not." Gislazen gave the Grand Elder a meaningful look. Since the hypnotism had already been used, then they might as well let this thing come to a conclusion. Humph! The Grand Elder let out a low snort, but in the end, still sat down. "I want to see what you'll have to say for yourself after it is proven that my son is no traitor." "That's Beirut's responsibility, not mine." A hint of a smile appeared on Dunnington's face. "Foreign, tell me, were you the one who leaked information about Linley's whereabouts to the 8 great clans, resulting in the 8 elders attacking Linley?" Dunnington said calmly. Immediately, everyone in the hall, including Gislazen, the Grand Elder, the various other elders, and Linley all looked nervously towards Foreign. Linley stared at the dazed Foreign. "If it wasn't him, this will be very awkward." A calm look was on Foreign's face, and his eyes were lifeless. He said mechanically, "Yes. Yes." The voice echoed in the hall. Instantly, everyone fell silent. The Grand Elder wore her customary silver mask, and there was no way to see the look on her face, but disbelief could be seen filling her eyes. "Did you hear that?" Beirut laughed as he looked towards the Grand Elder and Gislazen. "How is that possible?" The elders in the hall were all stunned. Ask him why." The Grand Elder's entire body was trembling. The Grand Elder didn't want to believe it. She truly didn't understand, why had her son come to this decision? When a person was hypnotized, they wouldn't tell any lies. This was an ironclad rule. Dunnington continued, "Why did you leak the information and want Linley to be killed?" "He deserves to die." Foreign said mechanically, "He is a junior descendant of the clan. By what right does he hold the Azure Dragon Ring, the sovereign artifact of our ancestor?" "Sovereign artifact?" Dunnington couldn't help but look at Linley with surprise. The other elders all were looking towards Linley in surprise as well. Foreign continued, "Acquiring the sovereign artifact was one thing, but my son lost his most powerful divine clone because of him. And he's just a mere god, and yet he's already so powerful. When he becomes a high god, his status in the clan will definitely be higher than mine. I, foreign, look up at him and live beneath him, day in and day out. This sort of life is nothing but torture, and so he must die. A god. Quite a few elders in the hall all looked towards Linley, astonished. They didn't know Linley was a god. They also didn't know that Linley had a sovereign artifact. So that's what this was all about. So that's what this was all about. The Grand Elder stood up, murmuring softly. Whoosh. The Grand Elder's body suddenly appeared next to Foreign's. With a vicious palm blow, she smashed down at Foreign's head. With a bang sound, Foreign's head exploded, then 2 divine sparks fell out as well. Linley sucked in a sudden breath. The Grand Elder. The entire hall instantly fell silent. Even Beirut and Dunnington stared at the Grand Elder in shock. All the clones of those who betray the clan are to be put to death. The Grand Elder said in a low voice. Her eyes turned moist, but in an instant, they dried out. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 55, Beirut's Craftiness. It had been Foreign who had leaked the information. This had already shocked quite a few people, but the sudden attack by the Grand Elder, who had personally executed Foreign, this caused the entire hall to fall completely, utterly silent. I didn't expect that it really was him. A long, low sigh echoed in the main hall. The speaker was Gislason. At this time, Linley was looking very carefully at the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder actually straightforwardly executed her own son. Linley was completely astonished. Elder brother, Foreign has already been punished in accordance with the rules of the clan. The Grand Elder said in a cold, calm voice. This matter is concluded. I'll leave for now. All right. You can go back and rest. Gislason understood that his little sister was feeling terrible right now. Wait a moment. A voice suddenly rang out. The Grand Elder had already started to leave, but now she came to a halt, turning to stare at the seated Beirut. In a low voice, she said, Lord Prefect, is there something else you need? Although her voice was very calm and tranquil, Linley could sense the unbridled anger that was hidden within that calm. Her son was already died, but Beirut still wouldn't give it a rest. Linley couldn't help but look towards Beirut, who had a calm smile on his face. Beirut said, according to the rules of the 4 Divine Beasts clan, those who betray the clan shall have all their bodies and clones destroyed, correct? Correct. The Grand Elder raised her chin, looking towards Beirut. Lord Prefect, why do you ask this? I simply would like to ask, how many clones did Foreign have? Beirut laughed calmly. The Grand Elder was silent for a moment. The mask on her face prevented others from seeing her expression, but Linley could see that the Grand Elder's entire body was trembling slightly. Clearly, she was already utterly livid. Including his original body, 3 clones in total. The Grand Elder said in a low voice. However, my son's original body was still at the saint level. Thus, when I killed him, only 2 divine sparks came out. Lord Prefect, I wonder if my answer is satisfactory for you. Little sis. Gislason reproved softly. The Grand Elder's words and attitude were clearly hostile. Beirut let out a calm laugh. It's fine. She just killed her own son with her own 2 hands. I can understand why she is in a poor mood. But, Gaia, I hope that you will remember that your son was a traitor to the clan. He deserved his death. Beirut spoke with no mercy or remorse. The Grand Elder's body shuddered once. All right. Beirut stood up. This matter is at an end. Dunnington, Fusro, Linley, come, let's all go back. Linley's group immediately rose. As Beirut walked past the blood-stained corpse, he glanced sideways at it and said calmly, hurry up and dispose of the body. It is foul to behold. After speaking, Beirut left, while Dunnington and the others followed. As Linley left, he glanced at the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder just waved her hand, and the corpse on the ground transformed into dust. Let's go. Let's go. I didn't expect that foreign was a traitor. The elders left, all disgusted. In but a few moments, the only ones remaining in the hall were Gislason and the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder stood in the center of the hall, not moving at all. Little sis, foreign was a traitor to the clan. He deserved to die. Gislason walked over, resting his hand on the Grand Elder's shoulder. Once a person became known as a traitor to the clan, the other members of the Four Divine Beasts clan would hold that person in contempt. Even though foreign was dead, nobody felt pity for him. I know. The Grand Elder's voice was very low. But I still feel miserable. All right, elder brother. I'll go back now. The Grand Elder didn't say anything else. She turned and immediately left. Her son had become a traitor to the clan and had been killed by her with her own two hands. Perhaps the person hurt the most by foreign's affair, in the entire Skirite Mountains, was the Grand Elder. Linley and the others flew down, entering their gorge. Haha, awesome, awesome. Bibi laughed loudly. I never liked that father-son duo. They lusted after the boss Coiling dragon ring from the very beginning, and I suspected them long ago regarding this event as well. So it really was them. An excellent death. An excellent death. Linley laughed as well. He, too, had suspected foreign, but he wasn't sufficiently certain. Why, however, had Beirut dared to act in such a way? Wasn't Lord Beirut concerned that foreign might have been wrongly accused? How would Lord Beirut have resolved the situation, if that had been the case? Linley was puzzled about this the entire time. Beirut, Dunnington, Fusro, and Linley sat down within Linley's home, around that stone table. Linley hesitated for a moment, but in the end still voiced his puzzlement. Lord Beirut, how could you be so certain that foreign was the traitor? Beirut looked at him, a hint of satire in his gaze. You were the one who told me that it was he. I told you that I didn't have any evidence, just suspicions. Linley said hurriedly. Haha, the nearby Dunnington seemed to have heard something enormously funny as he began to laugh loudly. Linley couldn't help but feel lost. What was so funny? The nearby Bibi spoke out. Grandpa, can it be that you really did learn about this early on from a sovereign? How could I have known about this early on? Beirut laughed. If I had known early on, I would have sent someone to warn Linley long ago. In truth, before today, I wasn't completely certain either. Linley was stunned. Not completely certain? But Lord Beirut, you even invited Dunnington over, then did a forcible hypnotism. If foreign hadn't been the traitor, wouldn't that have been embarrassing? Linley immediately said. Haha, Dunnington once again started to laugh loudly as he glanced sideways at Beirut. Beirut, stop intentionally teasing Linley. I'll tell him. Dunnington immediately began to explain the truth. As for Linley, he listened intently. This Lord Beirut of yours wasn't sure at all about whether or not foreign was the traitor. Dunnington laughed. That's why he invited me over. After I hypnotized foreign, I first did a quick review of foreign's memories. Normally speaking, there was no way to review a deity's memories. But once a person was hypnotized and completely unable to resist, a terrifying figure like Dunnington was able to easily review the memories of the hypnotized person. After reviewing his memories for just a moment, I knew. Dunnington laughed. That he was the traitor. But what if he wasn't? Bibi immediately asked, and Linley looked at Dunnington as well, puzzled. Dunnington laughed. If he wasn't? Easy. Then I would have immediately allowed foreign to regain consciousness. Dunnington glanced sideways at Beirut. Afterwards, I would say a few words of praise, along the lines of, the Azure Dragon clan really does live up to its name. Even I am unable to forcibly hypnotize him. Dunnington's words completely flabbergasted Linley, Delia, and Bibi. Indeed, when a person was hypnotized, they would lose their consciousness. If Dunnington was successful in his hypnosis attempt, he could let Foreign regain his consciousness after investigating Foreign's memories. Even Foreign himself would only have felt that his head had gone dizzy for a moment. He wouldn't feel much else. Formidable. Linley sighed to himself. If Foreign wasn't the traitor, Dunnington could just deliberately lie and claim that he had been unable to hypnotize Foreign. The end result would simply be that Gislason, the Grand Elder, and the others would feel that they had gained a great deal of face. After all, even a supreme expert such as Dunnington had been unable to forcibly hypnotize an elder of the clan. This really was an excellent idea. Bibi sighed in amazement as well. Excellent, my ass. Dunnington stroked his beard. If Foreign truly hadn't been the traitor, then I, Dunnington, would have suffered a blow to my reputation. Stop worrying. Beirut began to laugh. Your reputation wouldn't have suffered anything. Even if you publicly acknowledged that you were unable to hypnotize Foreign, others would just think that this innate ability of the Azure Dragon clan is incredible. They wouldn't think that you are weak. Dunnington raised his eyebrows, laughing. His power was something that was publicly acknowledged, after countless shocking, world-shaking battles. The #1 expert of the chaotic sea, aside from the sovereign. Who would dare belittle him? Linley, Bibi. Beirut suddenly said. After this affair, although the Grand Elder has nothing to say for herself, in her heart, she certainly is unhappy. I think you'd best leave the Skirite Mountains and come to my place. Leave the Skirite Mountains. Linley couldn't help but turn and look at Delia. Excellent. Bibi said jubilantly. The Skirite Mountains are rather boring. I haven't even gone to Grandpa's prefectural manor. I want to go and have some fun. Delia, what do you think? Linley looked towards Delia as he spoke to her through divine sense. Delia looked at Wade, nestled in her arms, then replied through divine sense, Wade is still young. It's best not to make him tired by running all over the place. When Wade can take care of himself, we can go out wandering again. Right. Linley nodded. After their discussion through divine sense, Linley had come to his decision. Boss, wanna go? Bibi immediately asked through divine sense. Linley laughed, then shook his head. Lord Prefect, Bibi, I won't go for now. Wade is still young, and with Delia and myself living in the gorge with the other members of the Yulon branch, life is still fairly comfortable. As for what the Grand Elder will do, I won't go to Bloodbath Gorge. Even if she isn't happy, what can she do? Fine, then I won't pressure you to come. Beirut laughed calmly and nodded. Alas, Bibi let out a sad sigh. Boss, you accompany Delia and your son, then. I'll head there for now. Linley laughed and nodded. He could tell that although Bibi had always stayed here with him, Bibi's heart wasn't here. Most likely, Bibi is still missing Nini. Linley sighed to himself. However, Nissa is in the Jade Float continent. That very night, Beirut, Dunnington, Fusro, and Bibi all left the Skirite Mountains. The 4 clan leaders of the 4 Divine Beasts clan as well as a large group of other people came to send them off. Afterwards, Linley's life returned to a rare calm. Linley spent the calm days accompanying his wife, his son, and training. In the blink of an eye, 3 years passed. Linley was currently in his room, reading a book, while his 4 divine clones were all in the midst of training. Father, the snow is so thick. Quick, come look. Suddenly, a bright, clear voice rang out in the room. Hearing it, Linley couldn't help but grin as he stood up. Walking towards the outside. A youthful, tender-looking lad was outside, grabbing fistfuls of snow, while Delia was there playing with him. Father, look. That's the snowman that I made. Wade, seeing Linley come out, immediately ran over while calling out to him. As Wade ran over, he leapt off the ground, giving Linley a flying hug. "Father, the snowman is over there. Look." Wade's little face was tender and ruddy, so soft, it seemed as though one would be able to squeeze water out of his face with a pinch. Linley liked Wade very much. By contrast, when he had been in the Yulon continent, Linley had always been training when Sasha and Taylor had been growing up. He hadn't spent any time with his children. "Oh, Wade. This is the snowman you made." Linley turned to look. The snowman was just a pair of snowballs, one large, one small, with a few gems serving as the eyes and nose. There were actually a total of 3 snowmen, 2 large ones and 1 smaller one. "Right." Wade nodded solemnly, as though this were a weighty matter. "Father, look. That one is you. That one is Mother. That one is me." Hearing this, Linley couldn't help but start to laugh. "Wade, stop hanging on to your father. Come down," Delia said. "Oh." Wade obediently let go of Linley and fell down, but the ground was slick. As he landed, he slipped and fell, and Delia couldn't help but immediately go help him back up. Linley chuckled, then casually, leisurely began to walk forward on the snowy ground. With each step, he left a footprint behind. The snow had come to a halt long ago, but the snow on the ground was fairly thick. Everything within his field of vision had turned a silvery white color. "Father, father." Wade's call rang out from behind. Linley turned to look, but as he did, he saw out of the corner of his eyes his own footprint. He had left a deep impression in the snow, but a hint of green grass was still forcing its way out from within it. In that instant, when Linley saw that hint of green, and when he heard his son calling from afar, "Father, father," Linley's mind suddenly swept through the various events of recent years, from Delia's life-threatening crisis to his own despair, then his escape from that despair, followed by last few years of calm, blissful life. Boom! A green spot of light suddenly sprang into existence within Linley's mind, and in the next instant, it transformed into a green sun, illuminating his entire mind. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 56, Vitality. Delia was by Wade's side, but she noticed that Linley wasn't moving at all. Even his eyes had closed. What's going on with Linley? Can it be, seeing Linley in such a state, Delia naturally would suspect that he had gained a sudden insight and broken through. This was indeed the case. At this moment, Linley finally moved through the initial threshold of gaining a basic understanding of the profound mysteries of vitality. Training in a profound mystery always had 2 major barriers. The first was the initial threshold, while the other was the bottleneck before mastery. Although there might be some difficulties encountered while training, as long as one persevered, one would be able to overcome them. But that initial threshold as well as the bottleneck before mastery couldn't just be overcome through effort. It required talent, luck, and that instant of sudden enlightenment. Once that moment of sudden enlightenment came, the speed at which one gained understanding would be astonishingly fast, allowing one to advance very rapidly. However, moments later, the speed at which Linley gained comprehension began to slow down. After all, that moment of insight only allowed a person to gain a portion of understanding. The rest required training. Linley opened his eyes, and as he did, he saw Delia. "You made a breakthrough," Delia said softly. Linley laughed and nodded. "I've finally passed the initial threshold for understanding the profound mysteries of vitality, and indeed, understanding this profound mystery isn't an easy task. I had to experience many things first, and have my entire mentality change. Only after all of these things was I able to grasp that sudden moment of spiritual awakening and enlightenment." Delia couldn't help but reveal a smile on her face. "Linley, didn't you say that after becoming a high god, it would become much harder to fuse profound mysteries?" Delia couldn't help but ask. When fusing profound mysteries, the difficulty level was lessened if one fused the mysteries while gaining insights to them. This was much like how if a large tree was crooked when it was young, if it kept on growing crookedly until it reached maturity, it would naturally become a crooked tree. But if you were to have a straight tree begin to grow crooked only after it reached maturity, it would be hard. Fusing is far more difficult than gaining initial insights into a profound mystery. Linley shook his head. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so few paragons, despite the passage of countless years. The further one advances, the harder fusing becomes. Linley sighed. Look at me. It took me less than 1,000 years to fuse 3 profound mysteries, but to fuse the 4th, although 6 centuries have passed, I have still only been able to fuse the profound mysteries of strength with the throbbing pulse of the world. I haven't been able to improve at all. He hadn't made any improvements. Was he supposed to just keep on wasting time? Based on the historical pace of advancement by other people, even the greatest of geniuses would find it virtually impossible to fuse a 4th profound mystery in under 10,000 years. In addition, once I become a high god, my power will increase tenfold. Linley said confidently. By then, even if I encounter an Azura, I will at least be able to stay alive. When his soul was improved to the high god level, he would be able to absorb more amethysts and reach a new peak. In addition, Linley's Blackstone space had previously used god-level divine earth power. Once he became a high god, he would be able to use high god-level divine earth power to execute it. The power of his Blackstone space would therefore rise once again. When Purgatory Commander Risagem set up his gravitational space, he used high god-level divine earth power. Once Linley became a high god, the spiritual chaos component of his Blackstone space would also become more than 10 times stronger. The gravitational pull would also rise to a terrifying new level. By then, even 7 star fiends would find it hard to move freely within the Blackstone space. By then, Linley's Blackstone space wouldn't be too far off from Purgatory Commander Ricegem's. In addition, only after becoming a high god will I have any hope of being able to repair the Coiling dragon ring. Linley sighed. Although spiritual energy can be used to repair it, this is a soul-protecting sovereign artifact, after all. My current spiritual energy is too weak. Once I become a high god, I can rely on amethysts to strengthen my soul to the limits of spiritual strength for a high god. Even if I'm not able to completely repair it, I can still make it so that it recovers a portion of its power. If one was too greedy, one would be like a python who attempted to swallow an elephant. The consequences would be obvious. At present, as soon as Linley broke through to become a high god, his strength would become terrifying. Thus, it was best for him to become a high god as quickly as possible. Time flowed on like water, advancing silently and soundlessly. Linley quietly trained within the gorge, slowly advancing step by step. As for Wade, he grew up and became an adult as well. When the 100-year event came, Wade went to undergo the ancestral baptism and became a water-type deity. Wade's power is too weak. In the infernal realm, a demigod's power is absolutely insufficient for roaming about. Although Linley wanted Wade to experience some hurdles and hardships, he didn't wish for Wade to throw his life away. Wade normally remained within the Skirite Mountains, sparring with the other deities. More than a century had passed since Foran had been killed. However, the higher-level members of the 4 Divine Beasts clan felt tremendous pressure. This was because the enemy 8 great clans had become more and more savage, while the 4 Divine Beasts clan had lost too many elders. The residence of Patriarch Gislason. Patriarch, Garvey said frantically. We can't let this continue. If this continues for another millennium, our Azure Dragon clan will probably not have 7 star fiends left. Gislason's back was turned towards him, and he was silent. Patriarch, Garvey called out frantically. Then you tell me. What should we do? Gislason said in a low voice. Garvey hesitated slightly, then gritted his teeth. Patriarch, order all of our forces to be withdrawn. Forget about those forces of the 8 great clans and their arrogant patrols, we should just stay quietly within the Skirite mountains and build up our strength. Gislason was silent. In the past, how glorious had the 4 divine beasts clan been. Their fame had spread throughout all the higher planes and divine planes. Not a single clan dared to underestimate them, and the lives of the clan leaders of ordinary clans wasn't worth as much as the lives of ordinary members of the 4 divine beasts clan. The glory of the clan was utterly inviolable. For countless years, although the descendants of the 4 divine beasts clan might die, they had never lowered their heads. This was because these descendants all understood that even if they died, the clan would avenge them. The descendants of the 4 divine beasts clan were proud and arrogant. Let our 4 divine beasts clan lower our heads? Hide like turtles within the Skirite mountains and not go out. Gislason said in a low voice. Garvey, do you know what people will say about us in the outside world? They will say, that our 4 divine beasts clan was beaten so badly by the 8 great clans that we are hiding like turtles, afraid to show ourselves. That we are a pack of cowards. I am absolutely certain that this is how the 8 great clans will spin the story, and that they will spread this news throughout the infernal realm, as well as the rest of the 4 higher planes. To ordinary people, Gislason's line of thought was laughable. That was because ordinary people had never reached the heights that Gislason had. Even in material planes, ordinary people would be willing to sacrifice their lives for the glory of their clan, much less deities who possessed eternal life. To them, the glory of their clan was even more important. Garvey, you can go back for now. Gislason sighed. Patriarch. Garvey couldn't help but feel frantic. I told you to leave. Gislason growled. Stunned, Garvey had no choice but to leave, resigned. In the hall, the only remaining person was Gislason. His entire face was furrowed with wrinkles as he frowned, his heart filled with frustration. He had never imagined that the incomparably firm mountains behind their clan, the ancestors, would all die. With the ancestors dead, all the pressure now came crashing down upon the clan. Within the gorge, Linley, Delia, and Wade were eating together. But of course, Wade was now a handsome young man, slightly taller than even Linley, albeit somewhat thinner. Linley. A voice suddenly rang out. Linley raised his head and saw Garvey's figure appear in mid-air, then descend. Seeing Linley's family happily eating, Garvey let out a sigh. Linley, your life really is carefree and worryless. Sit. Linley pointed in front of him. What, are you feeling frustrated over the clan's matters? Right. Garvey sat down. Uncle Garvey. Wade called out. Garvey laughed and nodded. Time moves so very fast. Linley, I still remember how, over a century ago, you held Wade and Delia and hurried back. That really was a major event. Laughing, Linley nodded. Right, Garvey. What happened within the clan? Upon hearing this subject, Garvey said bitterly, just today, yet another elder of our clan lost his most powerful clone. Currently, our Azure Dragon clan, including you, Linley, only has 17 elders who truly possess the power of a 7-star fiend. 17. Linley was stunned. He still remembered how when he had accepted the position of elder, the clan had more than 30 elders. But now, only 17 remained. After I learned this, I thought for a long time, then went to find the Patriarch. I advised the Patriarch that he should order the elders to no longer go out and do battle, and that we should all return to the Skirite mountains. Garvey clearly felt very miserable for having given this advice. After all, he too valued the glory of the clan, did he not? What did the Patriarch say? Linley asked. He didn't agree. Garvey raised his head, gulping down a cup of wine. Every 10 years, sometimes every few years, our four divine beasts clan loses yet another elder. If this continues, in a few centuries, how many elders will our four divine beasts clan have left? Linley felt resigned as well. In this sort of clan war, the strength of any individual was simply insufficient. Enough of that. Come, drink. Garvey raised his cup. Drink. Linley responded. Delia and Wade left the table shortly, leaving behind Linley and Garvey to chat and drink wine. Linley raised his head, a hint of a smile on his lips. He's finally back. Boss. A figure descended from the skies, wearing a straw hat on his head. It was Bibi. Ever since he had left with Beirut, Bibi hadn't returned a single time in the past 100+ years. Linley rose to his feet. Boss. I missed you to death. Bibi rushed forward, giving Linley a bear hug. Linley and Bibi were as close as real siblings. After not having seen Bibi for so long, he naturally felt extremely happy. Bibi, long time no see. Garvey greeted as well. After that affair nearly a century ago, all the elders of the Skirite Mountains had learned that Bibi was the grandson of the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture. Elder Garvey. Bibi greeted as well. What have you been doing for the past century? Linley laughed as he spoke. Bibi rubbed his nose, then laughed smugly. In the past century, I've roamed the entire Indigo Prefecture and visited many secret locations. Indigo Prefecture really is large. In the past 100+ years, I've only managed to visit some of the more important areas. Oh, so why didn't you continue touring? Linley said. Bibi pursed his lips, saying in an unruly manner, I got bored. Didn't want to continue. But although he was acting in a seemingly unrestrained manner, Linley could sense a desolate aura. At this moment, Delia and Wade hurriedly walked over from afar. Delia laughed and said from far away, Bibi, it's been so long since you left. Look at this fellow next to me. Do you know him? The fellow next to you. Bibi was stunned. Wade. Delia laughed. Remember now. Ah. That little fellow. Bibi immediately began to laugh. Linley watched as Bibi immediately began to chat warmly with Wade, but could still sense that within Bibi's heart. Bibi's too lonely. Once the affairs of the clan have been resolved, I'll immediately accompany Bibi on a trip to the Jade Float continent. Let's go find Nini. The Infernal Realm. The Jade Float continent. Cold Calm Prefecture. The city of Baifei. The streets of Baifei City. A man and a woman were walking side by side. Nini, I've come out for the express purpose on a stroll with you. Smile, won't you? The man and woman were Salomon and his little sister, Nissa. Ever since that event at the volcano range, Nissa had believed Bibi to be dead, having perished after diving into that golden magma pool. Bibi's death had come as a tremendous blow to Nissa. It had also caused her attitude towards her elder brother to change. All right. Nissa just responded with a single word of acknowledgement. A passerby on the street was chatting with another person. That scryer recording really was exciting. It's been so many years since I've seen supreme experts like that do battle. Wow. There were actually more than 10 7-star fiends, and 6 of them used Sovereign's might. And that Azure Dragon clan's elder named Linley, he killed 5 7-star fiends by himself. Too terrifying. That year, when Linley had suffered an attack from those 8 elders, many people had recorded scryer recordings of the battle. The recordings of such an enormous battle very naturally spread very widely. Since Linley's name had been verified, it also spread with the battle. In the past 100 years, it had finally spread from the Blood Ridge continent to the Jade Float continent. Hearing this conversation, both Salomon and Nissa were stunned. Linley. Nissa was stunned. She had always believed that Linley and Bibi had both died. Someone of the same name. Linley. 6 people who used Sovereign's might. Salomon was stunned as well. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 57, Dangerous. The contents of that conversation had simply been too stunning. More than 10 7-star fiends in a single battle, 6 of whom had used Sovereign's might. This sort of group battle between supreme experts was simply too rare. Even if they occurred, scryer recordings of such battles would rarely spread out. How could it be Linley? Salomon was completely stunned. But from the contents of that conversation, Salomon had learned that the Linley these people were discussing as a member of the Azure Dragon clan. The Linley which he knew was also a member of the Azure Dragon clan. Can it really be him? Salomon didn't dare believe it. He was just a god. How could he kill 5 7-star fiends? No way. No way. A single person, kill 5 7-star fiends? This sort of accomplishment was simply too terrifying. As Salomon viewed it, no matter how powerful Linley was, there was no way he could have reached such a level. Big bro, did you hear that? They said Linley. Nissa turned to look at her elder brother, Salomon. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. At the same time, a hint of hope appeared in her heart. She had believed that both Linley and Bibi had died. But Linley was alive. Bibi, perhaps, was still alive as well. When she thought of the possibility that Bibi was alive, her heart, dormant for 1,000+ years, began to come to life again. They might just be 2 people of the same name. Salomon chuckled, intentionally saying disdainfully, "You know how strong our Linley was. He was just a god. It would be hard for him to face even an ordinary high god. Kill 5 7-star fiends by himself? Do you believe it?" Nissa was stunned. "All right. Don't pay any attention to the idle chatter. Most likely, it's just a supreme expert who also shares the name Linley." Salomon laughed calmly. "Let's go. We're shopping for clothes today. Pick whatever you like." Salomon didn't want Nissa to go look at the scryer recordings. It wasn't an issue if it wasn't Linley, but if it really was Linley, given Nissa's temperament, she would definitely immediately go look for Bibi. That would be terrible. "Let's go look at scryer recordings," Nissa said. Salomon shook his head. "Why look at scryer recordings? What? Do you think Linley is still alive?" "I don't know, but regardless of whether or not it is the Linley we know, a scryer recording of a battle including more than 10 7-star fiends is worth watching, no matter what." Nissa turned and immediately walked away. Salomon had no choice but to follow, and he secretly consoled himself that Linley died long ago. And he was very weak. This supreme expert, in turn, is very strong. It definitely isn't him. It has to just be someone with the same name. Salomon had unjustly accused Linley in the past. Naturally, he didn't want to see Linley grow strong. There were 3 locations in Bifei City that were dedicated to viewing scryer recordings. Large groups of people were gathered in front of the gates of all 3 locations today, all of them handing over strips of inkstone and azurite to go in and watch the scryer recordings. By the time Salomon and Nissa arrived, they were shocked by how many people were present. At the same time, those who had finished watching the scryer recordings were coming out from a side door. Truly astonishing. That Azure Dragon Elder was simply too terrifying. Right. That Azure prison of the Azure Dragon Elder appeared, and when it vanished, all of the enemy elders were dead. Listening to this discussion, Salomon and Nissa felt all the more curious. They immediately handed over the entrance fee of 100 inkstones and entered. There were 6 halls for viewing scryer recordings. Go to hall number 5. The last viewing just completed, and will start anew soon. Salomon and Nini both entered the 5th hall, looking for places to sit. The number of people within the 5th hall rose rapidly, but Nissa just stared at the front of the hall, her body trembling slightly. "Nini, relax," Salomon said consolingly. Don't have too much hope. But Nini didn't say a single word. Suddenly, a large amount of water-type elemental essence coalesced in the front of the hall in mid-air, transforming into a recording. At the same time, a voice rang out. Everyone, this battle occurred in Indigo Prefecture, at the Blood Ridge continent, in a mountain forest that was a few thousand kilometers outside of Mir City. Everyone in the hall fell silent. The explanatory voice continued, these battling experts are 11 7-star fiends. Based on my calculations, in Indigo Prefecture, only the 4 Divine Beasts clan and the 8 Great Clans have such a high number of experts. The 2 just so happen to be in a state of war, and now, everyone, please watch. When the scryer recording started, a 7-star fiend had already died, and his corpse is on the ground, still emanating the aura of Sovereign's might. Everyone, if you look carefully, you can see it. After speaking, the recording in the front of the main hall began to play. Everyone in the hall went silent. Nini and Salomon held their breaths as well. Within the enormous scryer recording, one battle scene after another appeared. These were the scenes of Fusro and Twila battling their enemies. However, just by watching these 2 battles, the people watching this recording for the first time were already stunned. Their bodies were all covered with light, and with each punch and kick, space itself split open. 3 of these 4 are using Sovereign's might. Salomon was stunned. Where is Linley? Nissa was searching desperately. And Bibi. However, at present, the scryer recording was primarily focusing on these 2 battles. At the same time, the scryer recording also recorded grey-robed corpse that lay on the ground, also emanating that aura. It was the 7-star fiend who had been killed by Fusro at the very beginning. And then, the scryer recording switched the point of view to the ground. The ground was roiling like the waves of the sea. Moments later, the ground suddenly exploded, and someone suddenly charged to the skies, blood matting his scales, but Nissa and Salomon were both shocked. Those ferocious spikes, that tail, those dark golden eyes, they were so familiar. Afterwards, 5 7-star fiends pursued and attacked Linley. Linley's body was emanating that blue light, it was water-type Sovereign's might. As for the 5 7-star fiends behind him, one of them was emanating a black aura. It is Linley. Nissa felt excited in her heart. This, Salomon was stunned as well. They had both seen Linley's dragon form. Big bro, it's Linley, it's Linley. Nissa could no longer suppress her excitement, and her divine sense reached out again and again to Salomon. It's definitely him. There's no mistake. Nissa, that's not necessarily the case. Salomon tried to equivocate through divine sense. The Azure Dragon clan has many people. And their dragon form appearances are all quite similar. In addition, in 1,000 years, do you think Linley would become so powerful? It's impossible. Nissa was stunned. Could it be true that there was someone with a dragon form similar to Linley's? Nissa didn't know too much about the 4 Divine Beasts clan, and didn't understand how unique Linley's dragon form was. And then, Salomon and Nissa continued to watch. In the scryer recording, Linley began to go insane, actually using his spiked forehead to batter a 7-star fiend to death. The other 4 remaining 7-star fiends wanted to flee, but they were all trapped within that massive blue cube. After the blue cube vanished, the 4 7-star fiends were dead as well. The scryer recording was focused on Linley now, and after killing those 4 7-star fiends, Linley actually flew to the ground. The recording showed how Linley knelt down by the side of a woman who was lying on the ground. The recording clearly captured the image of that woman's appearance. Delia. Nissa's eyes instantly turned round. It is Delia. Salomon was stunned as well. And then, in the scryer recording, Linley returned to his human form, clutching his infant child by his wife's side. Fusro and Bibi walked over as well, also entering the recording zone. Linley, Bibi. Nissa instantly felt so overjoyed that her head went numb. Linley, Delia, and Bibi, the three of them were all within the recording range. There was no question about it. This mighty Azure Dragon clan elder was that Linley which they had met. How can this be? How is this possible? Salomon didn't dare to believe it, but the truth was plainly visible for anyone to see. Big bro, it really is them. It really is them. They didn't die, didn't die. Nissa excitedly sent through divine sense. The scryer recording was almost over now. Linley took Delia in his arms while Fusro held the infant, and the two flew away side by side. The scryer recording ended. That Azure Dragon clan elder, based on the descriptions of the person who made the scryer recording, is named Linley. The woman on the ground should be a family member of Elder Linley's. That woman died, which is why Elder Linley was so grief-stricken. Salomon and Nissa walked out to the street. Nissa's face was filled with irrepressible excitement. Big bro, they didn't die, they really didn't die. In the past 1,000 years, Nissa had never been as happy as she was now. Bibi is still alive. Still alive. Right. This is good news. Salomon responded. But Salomon's mind was currently in a state of chaos. Originally, he had mistakenly believed that Linley had exposed his secret, and thus in his rage had wanted to kill Linley. Afterwards, Linley and his wife had both plunged into that golden magma pool. But who would have imagined that Linley not only was still alive, he had become so very powerful. But what happened to Delia? Nissa said, rather worried. Did Delia die in that scryer recording? Nissa still clearly remembered how, in the scryer recording, Linley had let out that howl of grief and rage by Delia's side. Although Nissa couldn't actually hear any sound, she could already sense his agonizing grief just from watching. Big bro. Nissa suddenly said. Salomon looked towards her. Nissa looked at Salomon. Determinedly, she said, Big bro. I have decided, I am going to the Indigo Prefecture of the Blood Ridge continent. Nonsense. Salomon couldn't help but grow impatient. This was exactly what he feared. Ninny, going from the Jade Float continent to the Blood Ridge continent is no joke. How would you, a god, make it there? It is too dangerous. Unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Nissa just glanced at her elder brother, not saying another word. She had already made up her mind. She was just letting her elder brother know of her decision. Seeing the look on his little sister's face, Salomon grew frantic. Ninny, you are too weak, and to go from the Jade Float continent to the Blood Ridge continent, you have to pass through the sea. The trip truly is too dangerous. Salomon said frantically. It's pointless for you to say anything. Nissa wasn't going to listen to her elder brother this time. Salomon, seeing how his sister was acting, felt helpless in his heart. They were within the city, and within the city, there was no way he could possibly act to imprison his little sister. If his little sister truly wanted to go, there was nothing he could do about it at all. Ninny, are you really going to make me worry about you like this? Salomon said, worried. How about this? Train to the high god level, then go. Nissa glanced at him, not saying anything. Nissa had already made up her mind, and there was nothing Salomon could do about it. Although Salomon kept a careful watch on her after the day they viewed the scryer recording, the next month, Nissa left. Within his room, Salomon stared at a piece of paper. It was a letter which Nissa had left him. Alas! Salomon threw the paper to the table hatefully. The journey from the Jade Float continent to the Blood Ridge continent will be so dangerous, why won't Ninny listen? Salomon was frantic, but there was nothing he could do. He didn't even know where Nissa had gone. As he thought of this, Salomon couldn't help but somewhat blame Linley. It was because he had wrongly accused Linley and Bibi that the relationship between himself and Nissa had fractured, and he rarely would be able to see her smile these days. And now, this time, she left on her own. How is it that Linley didn't die, and instead became so powerful? Salomon couldn't understand it either. How had Linley risen to such a level? At the same time that Nissa departed from Coldcom Prefecture, Linley and Bibi, in the distant Indigo Prefecture of the Blood Ridge continent, were living peaceful lives in the Skirite Mountains. In the blink of an eye, a few decades passed. Linley. A deep voice rang out. "Father, father." Wade called out. "The second elder is looking for you." Linley walked out from within his room. From the corner of his eye, he saw that in the distant, the second elder was walking over with a very complicated expression on his face. "Linley, come. Our Four Divine Beasts clan is about to hold a joint conclave of elders." Now. Linley was rather surprised. It hasn't been 1,000 years yet. In addition, the Four Divine Beast clans hold a joint conclave. Right? It will be in Bloodbath Gorge, at the Palace of the Four Divine Beasts. The second elder sighed. This time, the reason why all the elders are being summoned is to discuss what our Four Divine Beasts clan should do with respect to the 8 great clans. Linley's heart trembled. It seems though the clan is finally unable to keep fighting like this. Book 17. Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 58, Unwillingness. The Skirite Mountains. Bloodbath Gorge. The Palace of the Four Divine Beasts. When Linley entered alongside the second elder into the palace, he saw that quite a few people had already arrived. Linley swept them with his gaze. "Including me, a total of 42 elders." But of course, as time passed, more elders entered, one by one. Linley. Elder Garvey had a good personal relationship with Linley, and so he walked over. "The clan leaders are finally willing to lower their heads." Linley was stunned. "Garvey. Are you saying?" Garvey let out a low sigh. "Last month, our Four Divine Beasts clan suffered yet another severe setback. The clan leaders primarily aren't able to endure it any longer either. Thus, they organized this conclave. Or perhaps the clan leaders are also irresolute and so they wish the elders to come discuss it? If the elders agree, then..." Linley understood as well. Once the conclave concluded, most likely the Four Divine Beasts clan would choose to turtle up within the Skirite Mountains, no longer leaving. Although by doing so, the Four Divine Beasts clan would be able to preserve its strength, the reputation of the clan, built up over countless years, would suffer a huge blow. To the many clansmen, the honor of the clan was more important than life itself. This was a hard choice for the 4 clan leaders to make. "We suffered a severe setback last month." "What happened?" Linley hurriedly asked. "You never pay attention to anything." Garvey shook his head. "A month ago, our Four Divine Beasts clan lost another 3 elders. One of the elders belonged to our Azure Dragon clan. Factoring in the last event 20 years ago, our Azure Dragon clan has only 15 elders who truly possess the power of 7 star fiends." Linley's heart couldn't help but clench in worry. Rumble, the main door to the palace slowly slid closed. Linley couldn't help but feel startled. Garvey said in a low voice, "The elders are all here. Soon, the 4 clan leaders will arrive." Linley took a careful look about. In the hall, there were a total of 53 elders, including the Grand Elder. From a side room, 4 figures walked out in a line, sitting down together at the front of the palace. It was Gislason and the other clan leaders. The entire hall immediately fell silent for a time. Gislason and the other 3 clan leaders swept everyone with their gaze, then looked at each other. In the end, it was Gislason who spoke. His deep, rumbling voice echoed in the hall. "Everyone, today, we have invited all of you over. I trust that all of you have already guessed what the purpose of this meeting is." As soon as these words came out, everyone felt misery in their hearts, and even Linley felt a surge of grief. They no longer had the strength to save the situation. Ever since our 4 ancestors died, our 4 Divine Beasts clan has suffered one heavy setback after another. Fortunately, thanks to the assistance of the Lord Prefect of Indigo Prefecture, we were able to find our footing here in the Skirite Mountains. Otherwise, our 4 Divine Beasts clan would most likely have been turned into ash and disappeared like smoke, more than 10,000 years ago. The palace was completely silent. Over the past 10,000 years, the elders of our 4 Divine Beasts clan have all fought fearlessly against the enemy for the sake of the glory of the clan. 10,000 years ago, our 4 Divine Beasts clan had a total of over 200 elders. But today, we only have 53 remaining. It has only been 10,000 short years, but we've lost nearly 200 elders. 200. A moist light flashed in Gislazen's eyes. The elders below, thinking back to the other elders who had perished over these years, all felt grief in their hearts. Linley, as well, thought of the various members of his own Squad 13 who had died, as well as the forlorn image of Elder Arhouse, who had lost his most powerful clone. For the sake of the clan, far too many elders had sacrificed their most powerful divine clones. They had previously been 7-star fiends, lofty and mighty individuals. But after having lost their most powerful divine clones, they were now perhaps just ordinary high gods. All these years, the other 3 clan leaders and I have been pondering, how long will we hold out for? Gislazen's voice was hoarse. Especially in the past few centuries. The 8 great clans seem to have gone insane. They want to kill our elders at all cost, even if they have to die with us. According to this current rate, in another few years, our 4 Divine Beasts clan will most likely not have many elders left. The Vermilion Bird matriarch spoke out as well. Right. 1 month ago in particular, we lost another 3 elders. We 4 clan leaders have discussed this carefully. If this continues, we will only be able to endure for a few more centuries at most. The White Tiger Patriarch spoke out in a cold voice. Since even if we continue to hold out, the only result will be that everyone will die, what's the point? The Black Tortoise Patriarch rumbled, this is why we wish to make sure that at least some of our elites will survive. After all, it isn't so easy for someone to become a 7-star fiend and an elder. Gislazen said in a strong, forceful voice, and so, we 4 clan leaders are united in agreement that we are to no longer fight against the 8 great clans. All of the members of the clan are to enter the Skirite Mountains. We will build up our strength. The elders below were all stunned. They had thought that the clan leaders would let them discuss this matter and vote on it, but who would have thought that this came as a simple declaration? Patriarch. Matriarch. Instantly, quite a few elders grew frantic. Patriarch. A rushed voice rang out, and a youth with silver hair and a callous-looking face raised his head towards the 4 clan leaders. He frantically said, are we supposed to just surrender, just like that? Just admit defeat? Linley glanced at this silver-haired, callous-looking youth. It was the genius elder of the Azure Dragon clan, Elder Blue. You can consider it as us admitting defeat. Gislazen no longer had the imposing, majestic aura that he previously always had. Blue. The Vermilion Bird matriarch looked down at him. Even if we continue to fight, how much longer will the forces of our 4 Divine Beasts clan be able to hold out for? Can it be that you want the remaining, final 53 elders of the clan to also be lost? Blue's gaze was unyielding. 4 clan leaders. Blue raised his head slightly. I, Blue, have submitted and surrendered to others, but that was because I was too weak. Ever since I became a 7-star fiend, I have never surrendered to anyone. The 8 great clans are worthless. When our 4 Divine Beasts clan was in the height of our power, they didn't dare to oppose us in the slightest. But now, have me, Blue, surrender to them? Never. Blue. Gislazen felt heartsick. In their hearts, they not only hated the 8 great clans, they also looked down on them. For them to surrender, they naturally didn't wish to, given their pride. But Gislason and the other three were acting in the best interests of the clan. Patriarch, I understand that this is a hard decision for you. But I am just a single person. I am willing to go out and do battle, and to die on the field of war. After I die, the infernal realm will no longer have the 7-star fiend blue, only the ordinary high god blue. By that time, even if I want to do battle, I wouldn't have the ability to. Blue laughed softly as he spoke. Linley, hearing this, couldn't help but tremble. At this moment, a black-haired elder stood out and said in a somber voice, Patriarch, for our clan to flourish again, what we need is a supreme expert like Beirut or Dunnington. I know that I have no more hopes for improving. I hope that you will let me go die in battle, Patriarch. Even if we lose, I refuse to let those 8 great clans get off lightly. Patriarch, in my life, I've given many things a try, but lowering my head. Never. Not even in death. Yet another elder stood up. Matriarch. Linley watched the scene quietly. Although to ordinary people, these elders might appear to be too rigid and inflexible, Linley understood, these elders had lived for countless hundreds of millions of years. They weren't afraid to sacrifice themselves, but they cared deeply about certain beliefs and values which they held. 53 elders. Amongst them, there were more than 20 who were willing to sacrifice their most powerful divine clones, just for the sake of making the enemies suffer. The other elders were silent, but Linley knew that so long as the clan leaders gave the order, they wouldn't hesitate in the slightest. Linley. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Linley was stunned. The Grand Elder was looking at him, her eyes filled with panic. Linley, you are on very close terms with the Lord Prefect. Can't you just discard your pride and go beg the Lord Prefect for him to help us? Given the Lord Prefect's power, he is more than strong enough to force the 8 great clans away. Linley, go beg him, for the sake of the clan, go beg him, just this once. Quite a few elders immediately looked towards Linley. Just now, these elders had been in a state of despair, and many of them had been willing to throw away their most powerful divine clones in an attempt at vengeance. Even if their clan was submitting, they would make the 8 great clans suffer. But hearing the words of the Grand Elder, it seemed as though they had one last straw to clutch at for survival. Linley didn't know how to respond. Little sis. Gislason, seated at the front of the hall, let out a deep shout. Having Linley do this would just make the Lord Prefect feel awkward. The Lord Prefect has already done many things for our 4 Divine Beasts clan, and he has never asked for anything in return. You actually want the Lord Prefect to intervene yet again? Can it be that you think the Lord Prefect has an obligation to help us? The Grand Elder couldn't help but fall silent. We're able to preserve the clan, and it won't be destroyed. We should know when to be content with what we have. Gislason let out a sigh. The elders below all fell silent. Elders, I am unable to forcibly prevent any of you from deciding whether or not you wish to go do battle with the enemy. I just want to say, let the clan preserve a bit of power. Gislason rose after speaking, then looked towards Linley. Linley, no matter what, don't go beg the Lord Prefect. Linley couldn't help but raise his head and look towards Gislason. I know what sort of temper the Lord Prefect has. If we go too far and anger him by our actions, he doesn't even need to personally do anything. All he needs to do is to stop caring about our 4 Divine Beasts clan and allow those 8 great clans to freely attack us. That would be disastrous. Quite a few elders seated below, upon hearing those words, felt their hearts tremble. Whether or not to surrender and submit, that was a question of the clan's honor and glory. But angering the Lord Prefect, that was a question of the clan's survival. If the entire 4 Divine Beasts clan was eradicated, there would no longer even be a question of honor or glory. Ever since that decision was made, the four Divine Beasts clan no longer openly battled against the 8 great clans. Even though the forces of the 8 great clans continued on their predetermined patrol routes and acted provocatively, they were ignored. The clan only needed to preserve its strength. But although this was the order of the clan, there were still quite a few elders who weren't willing to accept it. They chose to go out to fight, causing the battles with the 8 great clans to rise to a new crescendo, and the 8 great clans, seeing that the 4 Divine Beasts clansmen dared to act so brashly, couldn't help but feel enraged and send even more people out. A wild, savage, brutal war. The most eye-catching of them all was the genius Elder Blue. Elder Blue traveled by himself, and he actually managed to kill 8 enemy elders. Afterwards, the 8 great clans were enraged, and they actually sent out one of their patriarchs, along with multiple experts. In that battle, Elder Blue's most powerful divine clone died. Elder Blue, in those 10 short years, accomplished the feat of killing 9 enemy elders. But of course, although some did well, others did poorly. Other elders went out to do battle as well, but some elders weren't able to kill anyone at all, as they were set upon by many others or were killed by enemies using Sovereign's might. This sort of wild slaughter persisted for 30 years. 22 elders lost their most powerful divine clones in battle. As for the 8 great clans, their losses were even greater. 38 of the elders perished. After all, the 4 Divine Beasts clansmen were fighting with the intention of killing as many as they could in exchange for their own lives. But after that, the 4 Divine Beasts clan went silent, no longer seeking out battle. For a short period of time, this actually threw the 8 great clans into a period of wild speculation. After all, in 30 short years, they had lost 38 elders, causing some shock to the 8 great clans. After all, the elders of their clans were the elites of their clans as well. They, too, felt heartache at the losses. The Skirite Mountains returned to calmness. The roving patrols continued their patrols, but normally, very few people would come to the Skirite Mountains. But today, a female youth flew out from a metallic life form. Afterwards, that metallic life form flew away, while that young lady drew closer and closer to the Skirite Mountains. These are the Skirite Mountains. Outsiders are forbidden entry. Immediately, more than 10 patrolling warriors flew over from above, and one of them shouted at her. This young lady had her hair tied into a ponytail, and she appeared very attractive. The strange thing was, she was wearing a straw hat on her head. The young lady hurriedly replied, "Hello. I am the friend of your elder Linley. I've come to find him." Elder Linley. The patrolling warriors were all puzzled. "Do you have any proof?" a patrolling warrior asked. The young lady hesitated. What proof could she provide? But then, she immediately said, "How about this? Just go tell Elder Linley that my name is Nissa. He'll know who I am." Nissa. The leader of the patrolling warriors glanced at her, then nodded. "Wait here." After speaking, he flew away. Book 17, Indigo Prefecture, Chapter 59, Suspicion. Although life within the gorge was peaceful, Linley's heart was not at peace. He had continually been paying attention to Elder Blue and the others. These elders all had chosen to sacrifice their most powerful divine clones for the sake of one last act of defiance. After hearing of their accomplishments in battle, Linley's blood couldn't help but boil, while at the same time, he felt rather saddened. Power. The problem, in the end, is still that our power is inferior to theirs. Linley stood in front of his room, staring towards the sky, sighing in his heart. From the Yulon continent to the infernal realm, Linley had experienced many things. Naturally, he understood that honor and glory wasn't something which others would give you, it was something you had to fight for and obtain for yourself by relying on your own power. The 4 Divine Beasts clan was much weaker than before now, but they still wanted to have as much glory as they had in the past. This was nothing but a dream. When you had power, others naturally would revere you. For example, Beirut. He alone was enough to strike terror into the hearts of the 8 great clans. A single order from Beirut resulted in the 8 great clans not daring to make a single incursion into the Skirite Mountains. The 4 Divine Beasts clan was in dire straits. Linley, in his heart, wanted to help his clan, but his current level of power was a good deal weaker than Patriarch Gislason. How was he supposed to help the clan? The final conclusion of all that pondering was, Linley still wasn't strong enough. How long will it take for me to train to Lord Beirut's level? Linley's heart was filled with desire, but then he shook his head and laughed. Beirut and Dunnington could both be said as having reached the very peak of high god power. To reach the same level as Beirut was too hard. Once I train to the high god level, my power should begin to approach the patriarchs. Linley was rather eager. Once he became a high god, although his body would still be physically weaker than the patriarchs, Linley had his Blackstone prison. If a high god Linley was to use the Blackstone prison, the power of the technique would be very close to the level of the technique used by Purgatory Commander Rice Gem. Only then would the true power of the Blackstone prison be put on display. Linley turned to look towards a nearby area. Bibi was lying on the grass. Bibi. What are you doing? Linley laughed. Sky watching. Bibi lay there, not moving at all. His gaze was focused on the skies. Through the mist, he could see the winding Dragon Avenue. Bibi would often lie there and stare dumbly at one place, or perhaps at his straw hat. Occasionally, he would go out and have fun with others, but given how well Linley knew Bibi, he understood how Bibi was truly feeling. As more time passed, Bibi longed for Nissa all the more. Bibi. Linley walked over, sitting on the grass as well, laughing as he looked at Bibi. Are you thinking about Nini? Bibi was slightly startled, but he still nodded lightly. Right. I kind of can't keep myself from thinking of her. Whenever I'm not focusing on something, I'll begin to think random, foolish thoughts, at which point I'll often think of her. However, what's the point of thinking? Nini thinks I am dead. Bibi, in a little while, once you become a high god, or perhaps once I become a high god, let's make a trip to the Jade Float continent. Linley said. Whoa. Bibi immediately sat up, turning to stare at Linley in shock. What, you don't want to go? Linley laughed. Bibi had a rather awkward look on his face. Boss, this is a rather complicated subject. I do somewhat want to see her. But think about how her elder brother Salomon treated you. Treated us. If Fusro hadn't shown us mercy, you and Delia would most likely be dead. Linley and Delia truly had nearly died, back then. If they truly had died, Salomon would indeed have been the instigator and cause of their deaths. Whenever I think of Salomon, my belly fills with rage. A savage light flashed in Bibi's eyes, but then he said resignedly, tell me, if I go see Nini, if I see Salomon, what should I do? Linley couldn't help but laugh. So this was what's sticking in Bibi's craw, No matter what, Bibi, in the end, Delia and I are still alive. In addition, the person you like is Nissa, not her elder brother. Just ignore her elder brother. Linley urged. Ignore? Do you think I'll be able to ignore him just because you said so? Bibi pursed his lips resignedly. Linley suddenly turned to stare towards the skies. A patrol warrior was flying towards him, and as he saw Linley on the ground below, he immediately landed next to Linley. Bowing, he said, Elder Linley. There's a woman at the borders of the mountains. She says that she is your friend. Her name is Nissa, and she wants to see you. Linley was stunned. Nissa. Bibi immediately stood up, his eyes huge and round. He hurriedly said, you said that woman is named Nissa, right? Right. The patrol warrior was rather annoyed. Tell me, what is she like? Anything special about her? Bibi said. The patrol warrior paused momentarily. Describe a woman? This was rather hard. But then, the patrol warrior noticed the straw hat which Bibi was holding. His eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said, right. That woman was also wearing a hat on her head that looked identical to yours. Bibi was so excited, his face instantly turned red. Linley felt both extremely shocked and delighted as well. How did Nissa end up coming over here? Boss. Bibi hurriedly turned to look towards Linley. Quick, slap me twice. See if I'm in a dream or not. Bibi's mind was completely numb right now, and he felt as though his body was light and airy, as though he wasn't completely in touch with reality. Linley acted quite simply. Whap. He landed a palm blow on Bibi's shoulder, knocking him straight to the ground. Haha, I'm not dreaming, I'm not dreaming. Bibi instantly crawled back up. Linley, seeing that Bibi was so excited that he was beginning to tremble, sighed to himself. It had been many years since Bibi had been excited to the point of going crazy. The outside activities drew Delia out from the room as well. As she walked out, she said, what just happened? Nissa came. Bibi and I are going to go welcome her. Linley laughed, then he grabbed Bibi and immediately flew into the air. Nissa came. Delia was slightly shocked, but moments later, she recovered. Nini actually came all the way from the Jade Float continent, the base of the Skirite Mountains. Nissa was constantly staring into the depths of the mountains, her heart filled with worry. What if Bibi doesn't want to meet me? Will Bibi and Linley still be angry at what had happened in the volcano range that time? Worried. Panicked. Nissa knew that her elder brother had wrongly accused Linley, and even wanted to cause the deaths of Linley and the others. Haha, Nissa. A clear voice rang out. Nissa couldn't help but turn her head to look, and as she did, she saw two familiar figures fly towards her, shoulder to shoulder. Bibi, like her, wore a straw hat on his head. When Bibi saw Nissa, his eyes immediately lit up, and he was so excited that his speed instantly rose to a new level. Swoosh. Bibi. Nissa excitedly flew over as well. But just as he drew near her, Bibi's body suddenly trembled and his speed lessened. But Nissa ignored everything, rushing straight over to Bibi, clutching him in her arms. Will you, I thought you wouldn't want to meet me, will you? As she spoke, she actually began to cry. Bibi opened his mouth a few times. In the end, his first words were, "Where is your elder brother?" Hearing this, Linley didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. Bibi actually asked such an awkward question? Nissa's body trembled, and she released Bibi. She stared into Bibi's eyes, as though she wanted to learn something from them. My brother is still in the Jade Float continent. Bibi seemed to have realized something, and in a low voice, he said, "This time, you came here by yourself? From the Jade Float continent?" Right. Nissa nodded lightly. I almost never would have been able to see you again." As she spoke, tears once more began to appear in her eyes. Hearing this, Linley couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. Nissa was just a god. From Cold Prefecture of the Jade Float continent to Indigo Prefecture of the Blood Ridge continent required passing through the Starmist Sea. One could imagine what a difficult journey this was, but Nissa had actually come by herself. Bibi was completely stunned. He had thought that Salomon had escorted Nissa here. The uncomfortable feeling that had been present in Bibi's heart instantly vanished. Did you want to die? Bibi instantly took Nissa into his arms. Nissa was crying so hard that both her eyes had turned red. But her face was filled with a beautiful, overjoyed smile. Linley just stood there to the side, beaming as he watched. He felt very happy for the two of them, that they were able to have a reunion like this. Haha, the two of you have been holding each other for some time now. Do you want to continue to allow all those patrol warriors to watch this little drama? A while later, Linley finally spoke with a smirk. Come. Let's go back first. Only now did Nissa and Bibi come to their senses. Their reunion after 1,000 years, they had both been so excited that they hadn't noticed the passage of time. Time flowed on. Nissa and Bibi, having reunited, naturally wouldn't separate again. Bibi changed, once more becoming full of jokes and laughter, and spent every day with a delighted smile on his face. He was so happy he could die. But although life for Linley and Bibi was comfortable, the 8 great clans were frustrated. Within the main hall of the Bullen clan, 4 patriarchs as well as 4 death god golem clones of 4 other patriarchs were gathered together. This meeting of the 8 great patriarchs had just begun. In the past few decades, the 4 divine beasts clan has actually turtled up and refused to come out. No matter how our clan's forces challenge and provoke them, they don't respond at all. What's going on? Can it be that the 4 divine beasts clan is admitting defeat? A deep voice rumbled out. Impossible. A hoarse voice rang out. Everyone should still remember how savage and insane those 4 divine beasts clansmen were, 30 years prior to this. It won't be so easy to make them turtle up and submit. Patriarch Bullen, that's not necessarily the case. A devilish voice rang out. Nether Serpent. In the past countless years, have the 4 divine beasts clan ever submitted? Don't think so simplistically. Patriarch Bullen's hoarse voice rang out once more. The 4 divine beasts clan had always been arrogant, prideful, and unyielding. They had never submitted. This was the impression that the 4 divine beasts clan had always given others, throughout the countless years. Because the arrogance of the 4 divine beasts clan had already been deeply engraved into everyone's hearts, within a short period of time, there were quite a few members of the 8 great clans who were unable to believe that the 4 divine beasts clan would lower their heads and submit. As I see it, the 4 divine beasts clan must be plotting something. A forceful, unyielding voice rang out. Their recent reactions have been too bizarre. Everyone, it is best to be careful. Plot. What sort of plot could they have? A high-pitched voice rang out. Enough, everyone. A gentle voice rang out. For now, it doesn't matter whether or not the 4 divine beasts clan has surrendered, or if they are plotting something. Let's wait a while and take a good look. After a century, we will know for sure, if they have submitted, or if they are plotting something. Right. I concur. Patriarch Bullen said as well. I concur. The hiding of the 4 divine beasts clan, for a short period of time, caused the 8 great clans to feel suspicious. However, once the 4 divine beasts clan remained in hiding for a longer period of time, the 8 great clans would be completely certain as to what the situation was, at which point, they had other options at hand. The Skirite Mountains. Within the gorge. Today, the gorge was filled with the sounds of celebration and laughter. The surviving elders of the clan, as well as the 4 clan leaders, and even many former elders who had lost their most powerful divine clones had all gathered here on this day. Because today was the day of Bibi and Nissa's wedding. Even Beirut, Carolina, and Fusro had hurried over. Today, Bibi was dressed in a very sharp manner, and for once, he was very humbly and courteously greeting every single guest who came. Getting married is exhausting. Bibi secretly grumbled to the nearby Linley. Linley couldn't help but laugh. Suddenly, he noticed that Beirut was walking over. Your grandfather is coming. Haha, Beirut weighed Bibi with his gaze, nodding in satisfaction. You look proper today. But Linley, you and Bibi really are something. Bibi and Nissa have been together for a few decades now, but you didn't even tell me. You only notified me after arranging the wedding. Linley could only chuckle. Nissa had indeed been within the gorge for decades. Originally, Nissa and Bibi weren't even planning a wedding, but, just a few months ago, Nissa suddenly discovered that she was pregnant. Bibi and Nissa were both stunned. Having a child while not married? They frantically discussed this matter, then they came to a decision: they had to get married right away. The two of them immediately wanted to notify everyone. However, Beirut was simply too far away, which was why they had decided to get married half a year later. Today was the day of the wedding, but Nissa was already quite a few months pregnant and had a big belly. Each time Linley thought of this, he couldn't help but want to laugh.